What's up, San Diego? Getting you ready for the Craig Stammen introductory press conference. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is usually the time for the Braden Surprenant show. We will be starting up after the conclusion of the press conference, as today's commercial-free coverage of Craig Stammen's introductory press conference is presented by Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. We're just waiting for Don Orsillo to get everything going down there at Petco Park. Exciting times for Padres personnel and Padres fans as they introduce a new manager, somebody that was part of this organization for a long time, somebody that has had just a remarkable story to get to where he has been, not only in his baseball career, but now as the manager of the San Diego Padres. And I can't wait to hear what Craig Stammen has in store for all of us here in Padres land. So looking forward to this press conference again. This is a man in Craig Stammen that, didn't have any offers coming out of high school, went out, balled out in front of a scouting group from the University of Dayton that went to see his opponent. He mowed down said opponent, got a scholarship to play at Dayton, goes to play at Dayton, has a great career as a Dayton Flyer, ends up getting picked up by the Nationals, finds his way on the Padres, and has been that glue guy for the organization, at least from a player's perspective, and then has stayed in the organization for a long time. And now is getting an opportunity to lead the organization. And so we're excited to get to Craig Stammen, to the whole, production and giving him the jersey. And I'm really interested to hear from Craig and talking about what he has planned. I mean, there's a lot of things he was a part of the last couple of years as a member of the front office, and there will be some different things that he's going to want to do that I'm sure he'll highlight in today's press conference. It sounds like we got, Joe Musgrove is down there right now. Yuki Matsui is there. Jason Adam is there, to name some of the baseball players that are there representing the Padres players as we get ready for, it should be an interesting press conference and fun to hear what Craig Stammen has to say. I mean, you know what? It's when you get a guy that has been part of the organization and has an opportunity to put his own, not only spin, but his own touches on it. I'm curious to see what he's got in store. And I'm sure that's going to be a lot asked of him as we get ready for this press conference. Again, Craig Stammen has been hired as the manager of the San Diego Padres. We're going to hear from him momentarily as we're going to get to this press conference. Don Orsillo, I think, is the one kind of running some things. We'll hear after the press conference. Tony Gwynn Jr. will go one-on-one with Craig Stammen and one-on-one with A.J. Preller. So you want to keep it here. We're the only, I think, station airing this as the flagship station of the San Diego Padres. It's commercial-free. Again, it's presented by Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place, and should be a lot of good info out of Craig Stammen today when talking about this press conference. So we're looking forward to it. We're just kind of waiting for everybody to get settled in down there at Petco Park. All the local news and everything is down there. Obviously, we have a lot of representation. I know our morning show's down there. And, maybe they'll ask some questions. But here's Don Orsillo. Let's get this thing started.
Today, this is a great occasion for us on this very special day. A warm welcome to all of our viewers who are joining us right now on MLB Network, as well as Padres.com and listening at 97.3 The Fan. We are thrilled today to officially introduce our new manager, Craig Stammen. Joining Craig on the stage is Padres President of Baseball Operations and General Manager A.J. Preller. We'll begin today's program with opening remarks from A.J. before Craig puts on the Padres brown and gold yet again, this time as our new manager. Craig will also have a statement, and then we will open it up for questions at that point. A.J., please take it away.
Thanks, Don. Obviously excited here today to announce Craig as our next manager. Craig's joined by his wife, Audrey, his children, Chase, Summit, Ty, and Cece, his parents, Jeff and Kanye, and his brother, Brent. They've been a big part of the Padre family, and I know over the course of the last couple of weeks, big part of this decision. So excited to see everybody again. How did we get here? I think, it's been kind of a decade in the making in terms of, minor league free agency. Craig was a target guy for us, kind of leaving the Nats. And we actually lost a heated recruiting battle with the Cleveland Guardians at the time. Andy Green, self-proclaimed, was our closer and never lost a battle except on trying to sign Craig at that time. He signed with Cleveland, chose Ruben over the Pods at that time. And but the next year we were able to line up on Craig. He was coming back from an arm injury, and it was pretty clear in spring training that that he was what's made him a quality big league pitcher. You could see pretty quickly in terms of the ability to throw strikes, change speeds, field his position, and that was pretty obvious from minute one. I think the part that was fun to watch over the course of that first season and the years to come were the reasons why he's in this chair here today. An elite competitor, incredibly hard worker, very prepared, and a natural leader, and somebody that, as a pitcher, was able to touch different elements of our clubhouse, and be able to bond and connect with different players in that clubhouse over the course of a 7-8 year period here with San Diego. I think Craig has a unique seat and a unique lens. He was part of those building teams, and then he's been able to see it through to the playoff teams and the teams that have won 90 plus games here the last 2 years. So, he's been part of some really, really high highs, no hitters, and teams that, again, like Craig starting a playoff game, I think, which is definitely a career highlight, starting game 3 for us against the Cardinals. And then also been, had a front row seat to some of the disappointments of the last few years. And I think he's going to carry those experiences with him here in this chair. One thing specific that's for me, that COVID season, it was kind of a weird time, the 2020 year, and all of us kind of figuring out what to do, life, baseball. But as an organization, there were a lot of decisions that came up that year where it was a true partnership between players, staff, Eric, myself, Ron, Peter, and just a lot of conversations about, how do we go about this? How do we go about practicing, getting ready for the year? How do we go about keeping people, healthy and safe? And, seeing Craig at that time, I was able to see him from a different lens, as not just as a pitcher, not just as a leader in the clubhouse, but somebody that can make good decisions for the organization. And there were a lot of conversations week to week, day to day about how do we do this? What's best for the Padres? What's best for a group of people? What's best for families? And I think when we came out of that process, Josh and myself, I think we knew at that point in time that, hey, hopefully Craig is pitching here for a long time, but when he does decide to hang him up, we want him here in the organization, as part of a leadership team, and maybe one day sitting in a chair like this. I remember too, there was a day we were sitting in a boardroom with Ron and Peter, and I think we've all seen employees when they're around their boss and maybe say what the boss wants to hear. And Craig was, looking at the owners of the Padres and explaining to them in a very well thought out, detailed manner why maybe a different path was better for us in that season at that point in time. And it was just very impressive to see somebody that had taken in a lot of opinions, could take in different information, maybe not go down the path that would have been the easiest path at that time in terms of a decision. And so when you see that, it's again, it's pretty special, and that stuck with me and with Josh as we've kind of gone about this process for sure. Over the last couple of weeks, wide range of candidates. When we go through this process, you get a chance to talk to some very bright minds in the game. We've talked to tremendous ex-players. We've talked to up-and-coming, coaches in the minor leagues. Talked to coaches internally in our building that are tremendous coaches and tremendous leaders. I think a common theme, you get some feedback from people throughout the industry. A common theme is, a lot of the just a lot of the excellence in the Padre organization right now, and a team that that has done a lot of good things over the last 5 or 6 years. And I think for Craig, the familiarity that he has with that process, with our people, that kept coming through for me and for Josh. I mean, he's a guy that has played and been in a locker room with some of our core players and understands what makes them tick. The last couple of years with Schulte and the staff, he saw some really good processes that, he understands things that lead to winning and that he can help continue to grow. Sitting in bi-weekly meetings with our R&D team, every few weeks, and getting a different view from the game in terms of, some information that helped us be successful. Sitting in trade discussions and conversations with our front office. And I think he has a very clear understanding that what's been very good, there's still another step and what we need to do to be great. So, I know nationally it may be a little bit of a surprise in terms of the choice and the selection. But I think for anybody that's been around Craig here in San Diego, familiar with him, and definitely for everybody in this room, I think it was a pretty easy fit. We're super excited to name Craig as the next manager of the Padres.
Thanks, Adrian.
You're listening to the Craig Stammen introductory press conference right here on 97.3 The Fan. It is presented to you commercial free by Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. So right now, Craig Stammen is getting his jersey, getting it put on by AJ Preller. We had the introduction from AJ Preller. And while they're doing all of that, we're going to remind you that this hour is commercial free, and we're going to have AJ Preller on with Tony Gwynn Jr. And after this press conference, we're also going to have Craig Stammen on with Tony Gwynn Jr. after the end of this press conference. But right now, let's get to Craig Stammen out there on the podium.
All right, AJ, thanks for those kind words. Make me sound way better than what even my wife would probably say about me. Obviously a special day for me, special day for my family. I'd like to thank John and Eric and AJ and Josh, part of the decision-making crew in this process of believing in me and allowing me this opportunity to be in a leadership role with the Padres. The Padres have been a big part of my family. They feel like family to me. They've treated me like family since back in 2017, I guess maybe even 2016 when you were trying to recruit me. And I said no the first time, but it's been a yes ever since. And, obviously family's a big part of who I am and what I believe in. I've got a lot of my family here today. Audrey, my wife, was a big part of this decision. And without her, this would not have been a yes. And she was all in, excited. Couldn't have been more on my side. So I'm very thankful for her. I'm blessed to have an amazing wife. And then we have 4 beautiful kids that, you guys are going to be right by my side in this whole thing. I can't wait to hug you guys after the games, win or lose. That's probably the most favorite thing I had as a player, and now I get to experience it as a manager also. And then my mom, dad, and brother, big part of my family growing up. You guys raised me. You did a good job, I think. But I'm proud of you guys being my mom and dad and what you guys stand for, and hope to bring those values to the Padres and make you proud through this entire process. And I think that's what it's about. It's about this organization and about making the fan base, the Friar Faithful, proud of the product that we put on the field and the way that we treat people and the way that we take care of our families. And so I'm excited to start that process, be a leader in that process within the coaching staff and within the clubhouse. And hopefully that leads to us taking this organization to a place that we haven't been yet, but we've set as goals that Peter set as a goal a long time ago. And I'm excited to start that process and get it going.
With that, we'll open it up for questions, and we'll start with Kevin Acey from the San Diego Tribune.
Craig, can you take us through just the process of not being a candidate, being a candidate, and then also a second part of the question is, when did you first start to think about being a manager and, all that entails, including talking to us 200 times a year?
Yeah, the process was AJ was very coy about it in the beginning. And I think he's been very understanding of my family situation, how important they are in this process. And even that was a big part of being a special assistant the last couple of years, was him understanding that situation. And so he was always like probing a little bit, like, would you like to do more? Would you like to be in part of the front office a little bit more? Would you like to be, have a little bit more? Would you like to be a part of the coaching staff? And so I always knew, and he's articulated that to me, several times of what he thinks of me and how he thought I could be successful in some of the leadership roles within the team. So he was very coy about it at the beginning, and then we kind of got through the interview process a little bit at the beginning of it. And then he put the sales kibosh on me and said, I really want you to be a part of this process. I want you to think about being the manager of the Padres. And, my immediate thoughts are to my family, and like, we can't make that happen. We can't move them out of school and move them from Ohio to California. And yeah, I would love to do this. In my core, it's like, yes, I'm 100% in, but there's a lot that goes into making that decision. And so that started the process. Audrey and I had a lot of conversations. We prayed a lot. We fasted about it. We kept having conversations with people that we care about and know that can give us good advice. And then AJ's part of that too. He's pumping me up and telling me, continuing to believe in me and show that belief, him and Josh, a belief that, like, honestly, if they didn't have that strong of a belief, I probably would have not gone down the path as strongly as we did. And eventually it got to the point where it was a yes for us. We made some family decisions to make that happen. And then once we made that decision, it was like there was a peace and a joy that came with it, and an opportunity that there's no way that I could say no to. And that's, where we said yes. And luckily enough and thankful enough that it was offered the job. And here we are today, ready to, make something happen.
Did you think about it when you were a player? Had you thought about being a manager?
I thought about it a little bit, but obviously, you have the stigma of being a pitcher and then being a relief pitcher. And, you sit on the plane with Manny and Haas and Will Myers and Ian Kinsler, and we talk about those things together. And, maybe they mentioned, like, Sam, you'd be all right at that. And I'm like, really? You think, like, I can manage you guys? But yeah, they were, having support of past teammates, past coaches, being able to, like, push me in that direction has made me feel like this is possible. And then the belief of the organization also kind of trumps all of that and makes you believe that, crazy things are attainable for relief pitchers. And we're going to lead this team in the same way that hopefully I led the bullpen the few years that I played here.
Okay, we have Devin on one side of the room and we have Tiffany on the other side of the room. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand, and we'll get you a microphone right away. It looks like Annie Halbrin will be next.
Craig, some of these coaches that may be on your coaching staff were your coaches when you played, and some of these guys that you're going to be managing were your teammates. How do you view that going forward in terms of now being their manager?
Yeah, I kind of view this as just an extension of my time with the Padres. And I've been in a lot of different roles throughout that time of being kind of a mop-up guy, and then being pitching in leverage, and then being the old guy on the team and not being very good. Sorry, Ruben, for not being very good that last year. Ruben's been a coach of mine 2016 when I was with the Guardians, and then my last year playing with the Padres, and I've been hurt and injured both years. So this is my opportunity to show Ruben that I'm not hurt and I'm not injured. But like, to me, that's the most exciting part about the job, is I have real relationships with all these guys, and we've done some things together. Like, we've had a lot of shared experiences of good things and bad things. And I'm going to lean on those guys and those experiences to make this Padres team great, and the Friar Faith will be proud of us.
And then after retirement, when you worked in the front office, how did that change the way that you maybe view baseball a little bit, and did it impact your decision to want to manage one day?
Yeah, I think being in the front office the last 2 years gave me a bird's eye view of what it is behind the curtain and how things are operated. And as a player, you always think how things are going, but you don't really know, and you just make a lot of assumptions, and we talk about it a lot, gossip about it. But being a part of it and knowing how it goes, and then also being a part of Mike Schilt's staff the last 2 years and seeing how he went about his business, running the ball club and creating processes that allowed us to win 93 games in 90 games. So, we're going to build off what Mike built. He's a great manager, had a lot of success in his career. And there's a lot of things that he did that are really well, and we're going to keep doing a lot of those things and honestly carry on his legacy here in San Diego.
Jake from CBS 8.
Craig, how much of a challenge do you think it will be to have zero managerial experience going into this?
Yeah, it'll be a challenge for sure. I got a big learning curve ahead of me. That'll be something that I'm going to really put a lot of work in this offseason. A lot of conversation with AJ, Josh, a lot of the other coaching staff. But also a part of that, I've got some guys in my corner already that are on staff, like Ruben, that have tons of coaching experience, been in the dugout for playoff games, been in the dugout for long seasons. And so I'm going to rely on a lot of people in the organization. The best part about this Padres organization is the people that we have and how great they are at all of their jobs. And I'm going to rely on all those people. This isn't a one-man Craig Stammen show. I'm part of the, hopefully the part of the process of putting a winning ball club on the field, but I'm going to rely on a lot of people to, have my back and create processes that, lead us to a championship.
And AJ, you mentioned in your opening statement, you talked to a lot of candidates. Some big names were talked about, Albert Pujols, obviously Ruben. What made Craig the choice over those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of different directions we could have gone in, and I think in talking, there's only one manager and one decision, so it was a strong candidate pool. John, Eric, myself, Josh felt really good about the group that we were talking to. I think for Craig, again, I think in terms of him having the ability to fit with that he mentioned that with our players and the belief that he has and the knowledge that he has. Of our specific group, having played with them, having, coached around them, having, seen them from different lens point of view, that was definitely something that we talked a lot about. We think we have a competitive team that can win, and, we want to hit the ground running. So I think the fact that he's been in some different chairs in this organization, some different seats, I think was important. He has real knowledge of our players and our system and our process. And it comes down to the individual. I mean, I think what we just talked about in terms of the leadership category, the leadership qualities that Craig has. In fact, he's very intelligent. He's smart. He's super prepared. He's going to go about that in this job, the same way he went about it as a player. And for John, myself, Eric, we had a lot of confidence in that because we've seen that every day for the last decade, basically, that Craig's been part of the Padres.
Jeff Sanders, Union Tribune.
Hey, Craig. You mentioned Ruben. Ruben is here. And he was a finalist. How do you view that working relationship going forward?
I think it's going to be great. I have so much respect for Ruben. I had the privilege of being a player under him and being able to see how he can coach players and get the best out of them. And then the last few years, I've seen his processes kind of behind the scenes on, how he's able to get the best out of all of our players. Honestly, he's the guy I'm going to rely on the most. His experience, I think he's one of the best coaches in our entire sport, not just pitching coaches, but coaches overall. And we're going to put a lot on his plate. I'm going to put a lot on his plate, but I'm excited to work with Ruben. It's going to be an extension of our relationship that started with me as a player. And now we get to work hand in hand as manager, pitching coach. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And then the last one is you've watched the game from the bullpen. How do you bridge the gap from the experience out there to coming into the dugout and managing all the different things you have to do in game?
Yeah, one of the advantages of being a relief pitcher and viewing the game from that lens is you're always monitoring when the pitching changes are coming, and especially in the role that I had I had to be ready from pitch one to the end of the game. And look at my career, all the seasons I probably pitched in every inning of the game in all of those seasons. And so viewing it from that lens, constantly watching the game, constantly watching the starting pitcher, having an idea of how the manager manages the game, how he likes to deploy his bullpen, have an advantage in that realm. And I also have Ruben too. He's been doing that the last few years. So I think we're going to be a lethal combo, when we're talking about pitching decisions and who to bring in and when to bring them in and how often to bring them in. As far as the in-game, decisions, I'm going to build a coaching staff around me that's going to have my back. I'm going to rely on them a lot, and I'm going to learn the game along the way. There will be some hiccups. I'm not going to be perfect. I am not a perfect person, nor am I a perfect manager, and that's okay. But we're going to figure it out as we go. I'm going to learn, I'm going to gain some experience, and I'm going to put all I've got into it, to be the best that we can be.
John Howard, CBSE.
Craig, a couple of quick questions. One of the stresses of the managerial position is getting to spend a lot of time with us fine folks in the media before nearly every game and after every game. What will be the highlights and lowlights of dealing with that aspect of the job?
Highlights, you guys are great people. And it's great to be around great people. And the other part of it is I kind of know all of you guys too. Not many of you have changed. You've all been around years as a player. I can remember when Jeff asked me what it's like to give up 4 home runs in a row. We have that shared experience. And I also, I also remember some of the great articles that you guys, wrote about some of the successes I had as a player. The wild card game in 2020. I still have some of those things saved. Articles that were written. Bryce Miller, not with us today, but wrote some pretty nice things about me that I'll remember forever. And so. This is a good start to that relationship. You guys will probably get on me a few times, be critiquing what I'm doing, but in the end, it's a baseball game. We all love baseball, and we're going to have some fun together.
Cool. And one other question, this photo that's up on the monitors here, I don't know if you remember that picture being taken, but it looks like the photog said, give us your best glamour shot of Matt Damon looking off in the distance. Do you remember what you were thinking when this picture was taken?
Probably when's lunch. That photo's photoshopped. There's no doubt that that's been photoshopped. Audrey may be the only one that really believes that I'm a good-looking guy.
Darnay Tripp, NBC.
Hey, Craig, congratulations. What was it like to give up 4 home runs? Just kidding.
You guys can reference my quotes back then.
AJ mentioned you being around for some of the disappointments and that kind of informing you through the years. Any main takeaways from those seasons and those experiences that could inform you now going forward, especially when, the inevitable tough times come around?
Yeah, baseball's tough. You're going to win some games, you're going to lose some games. Hopefully we win more than we lose, but even last year, like ending the playoffs in Chicago and Wrigley Field, that was a sour feeling. Felt like we had a really good team, and we were one win away from making it to the next round. And you realize like how fast the season ends. You have such a great season, win 90 games, make it to the playoffs, and then the season's over in 3 days. And so there's that's part of baseball. Only one team wins at the end of the season. But, I think the greatest challenge of this position and the most fun part about baseball is putting in the work and the effort to be that last team standing. And that's like what gets me excited, gives me some goosebumps to see like how can we create something that we hit we have that opportunity in the playoffs, and then we play in the playoffs that, take us to that time, to the World Series, and to have a chance to win a championship. So that's like the most exciting. That's why you take this job. That's why you want to be a part of the Padres, because you've been given the resources of a great team, and ownership has backed you in that way. So excited for this opportunity to make that, real life and happen.
And AJ, Craig said you used to refer to him as a winning 45. What did you see from him in that standpoint, and how could that serve him now in this role?
Yeah, it's John Seiler too is still asking about that 20 to 80 scale and why we do it that way. But the winning 45 is a compliment actually. and hey, you're winning 45s up here on stage as the manager.
It means I'm not a very good pitcher.
But again, I think just it's the major leagues. It's really hard to be a productive, competitive player that contributes to major league wins. And Craig was that way as a player for sure. And again, I think it's the attributes to me that we talk about a lot that aren't seen as much on the field that Craig possesses, and that's kind of that winning 45 comment. So
hopefully I outperform my talent in this job the same as I did when I played.
Yeah. Craig was, again, like you talk about being an overachiever. I don't know, he achieved, which is that's what you want from everybody in the organization, top to bottom, and that's what we're going to be asking for our players. And it's exciting about what are the like Craig mentioned. It's again, it's hopefully a lot of the heavy lifting is done, and now you're looking for what are the little advantages, what are the small things that we can do, and what can we learn from from some of the playoff losses and some of the seasons of the past couple of years where there's been a lot of good that's been done. Now I think the question is how do we go and take another step or two, and having Craig next to the staff and myself is going to be a lot of fun doing it.
Julian Delgado, Fox 5.
Craig, congratulations first and foremost. AJ mentioned that you had kind of a philosophy that may have differed, that you told upper management and everything else. Just in your perspective, what do you think needs to change, and the biggest thing you'd like to implement in the early weeks as you go on this path?
Yeah, I mentioned family a lot at the beginning of my opening statement, and I hope to bring that type of culture to the team. I want our staff to bond in a way that creates relationships that are lifelong lasting. And I think that's, goal number one for me is just to create those relationships. If we go straight into strategy and forget about the relationships, I think we've lost the opportunity to create something special. And so the relationship creation and building culture and building team chemistry is going to be number one. And then we'll dive into the strategy after that.
And on the note of those relationships, a lot of your former teammates, just curious their reaction, how they reached out and, wished you well for this journey ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of good reactions. So that was probably the coolest part of this whole ordeal of when it got announced is a lot of my former teammates now current teammates and current people in the Padres organization reaching out and expressing their excitement, expressing their, willingness to want to be a part of this and be a part of this, and excited that I'm in that chair, that we can create, something that we all desire, that we're excited to show up to work. We have a joy and an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, where we show up and create that and spread that to our players. And then they show the fans on the field how exciting it is to be a Padres baseball player.
You gonna have any, itch to get back out on the mound? Maybe do it yourself at some point?
The thought of throwing a major league pitch, or like multiple major league pitches, just like makes me hurt right now. My brain is willing, but the body is not,
Thank you.
Marty Caswell.
Hi, Craig. What do you take from the experiences of watching both Andy Green and Jace Tingler as first-time managers, and what they went through, and how will that help you moving forward?
Yeah, I wasn't with Andy his first year as managing, but obviously I built a good relationship with both of those guys and tried to partner with them as a player, and honestly be someone that they could count on in the clubhouse. So like what they did well, I thought was partner with the players and allow them to create some change within the clubhouse. And I'm going to be trying to do the same, building off all those relationships I had with guys I played with in the past, the guys that I've been working with here the last 2 years as a special assistant, and just using that, to create something that's a special bond, within our clubhouse and within our coaching staff. And I think the other thing too is like my relationship with AJ is a big part of that also. And when we're connected and we're able to make great decisions together, and it's a collaborative effort, that's only going to permeate all the way down through the team.
And AJ, was this an easy pitch to both John Seidler and to Eric Grupner? And why do you feel this going with another first-time manager is going to work this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it is a hard decision overall, just because, there were a lot of good candidates and a lot of people that brought different attributes, to the job. In terms of Craig specific, yeah, I think, John, Eric, myself, Josh, we've seen it firsthand over the years in terms of what Craig brings to the job. And it really just, and again, when you study like managers and you look around the league, there's some great first-time managers. There's some great managers that have been in their second and third stop. Again, like we've been to the playoffs with Jace, who was a first-year manager and finished in the manager of the year running that year, and we've been with Bob and with Schulte, and expect to go to the playoffs and win in the playoffs with Craig. So, again, I think it's more about the individual than, hey, it has to be this type of profile or this type of, experience from a former big league manager or, pitcher versus position player. You study it. There's, pitchers that are in the Hall of Fame. There's first-year managers that are in the Hall of Fame as managers. There's, guys that are on their second or third stop that went and had like a lot of success elsewhere. So it comes down to just the fit with your team and the individual. And we pick somebody that brings a lot to the job.
Last one, Allison Edmonds.
Thank you. So, of course, there's a lot of positives having a relationship with the team, staff, and all that kind of stuff. But what do you think the biggest challenge will be going from like friend and cohort to having to boss these guys around and tell them what to do when things get out of line and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think the key word is boss. I'm not bossing them around, I hope that they see, honestly, I hope they see how I treat my family and how I treat my kids. And I hope that they feel that I'm treating them in a similar manner, treating them like family. I think in this role, I will have to push them, and I want to be able to push them, but I also think I can partner with them, and I know what goals that they want. We've talked about those types of things, like what we wanted to achieve as a group. We tried to achieve those goals as a group and hadn't quite got there yet. But is there a way for me to get in just a little bit and push them that 1% or motivate them that 1% that pushes them over the line to accomplish something that they never thought was possible? And so I think that's like a really fun challenge, like to push some of my best friends to be at their best and to, create things in their career that they never thought were possible. And like, what's better than having your best friends succeed, people that you care about succeed. And that's what I'm excited about.
That will conclude our press conference today. We thank you all for being here. Congratulations, Craig, and to AJ as well. We'll see you all again soon.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the commercial-free coverage of Craig Stammen's introductory press conference, which is presented by Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I'm Braden Surprenant. He's Frank Marchese. usually on the Braden Surprenant shows, the first hour of that particular time slot. But still a lot to get to on the show today and during this press conference. So overall reactions, I think Craig Stammen did a great job of winning the press conference today. I don't think a lot of people are as concerned as they might have been when they first announced his hire. I thought he did a great job. I think it's a guy that a lot of people would want to go out there and play for. I love the fact that, a very personable guy. I mean, we've talked about this before. He's a great dude. And his story about moving the family back and everything like that was fun to get to. And what's going to happen right now is we are waiting, but Tony Gwynn Jr. is going to be joined by both Craig Stammen and AJ Preller in some type of order. And we're going to throw it over there and get a one-on-one with Craig Stammen as he joins Tony Gwynn Jr. So stay tuned. We're going to continue this press conference in this coverage. But overall, everything that Craig Stammen said was on board. Loved the fact. I loved everything about it. And so looking forward to what he brings as a manager. I like the relationship he had with Ruben Niebla. I think the fact that Ruben Niebla is coming back is a great sign, not only for the Padres, but for a guy like Craig Stammen that played for Ruben Niebla in Cleveland and then again played for him in a little bit here at the end part of his career in San Diego. So I think the pitching staff is built in very well. Now, the way that they assembled the staff, I think is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the staff forms together and how the Padres do in free agency, because there's a lot of things that need to be addressed, obviously, with this team. I mean, they're going to have to go out and get some slug. I think they're going to have to be creative on the pitching market. But I think you could get creative on the pitching market when you have a guy like Craig Stammen running the show as a manager and when you have a guy like Ruben Niebla as the pitching coach. I think everything's built in very nicely for the San Diego Padres. I think you bring in a guy like Craig Stammen, who's hadn't had to leave the organization. He's been part of the organization. He understands the goals. He understands what this organization is trying to do. And he does a great job of representing the organization. I mean, everything about the press conference I thought was great. Matches the vibes of San Diego, I think, in a great way. So, all right now we're waiting on, Craig Stammen and AJ Preller, and then we will have video of that particular interview with Tony Gwynn Jr. He's standing there waiting for an opportunity to sit down and ask him some more personal questions. But I thought the press conference was funny. They asked Craig Stammen about is he going to be able to. Yeah. Do you have anything left in the tank to give you a major league pitch? And he said, that just sounds painful to me right now of having to throw a major league pitch. So I thought the press conference was light. It was fun. It was entertaining. And I think you got to learn a lot about Craig Stammen today than more than you did. And again, it's not about the career that he had at the major league level. And he had a great career. It's about how he gets these players to go out there and perform. And the fact that so many players were excited for a guy like Craig Stammen to be the manager, I think is a very good sign. So sounds like Craig Stammen will be joining Tony Gwynn Jr. first out of the group. And somebody asked what number did he get? I think it's 14. Is that what the number he decided to pick? So he'll be wearing 14 down in the Padres dugout. A little bit different than what did he wear? Like 32 or something like that? 30. I forgot what number Craig Stammen had when he was a player for the San Diego Padres, but he's going to be wearing number 14 down in the clubhouse, and a guy that hasn't left. I mean, he's been part of the organization since he retired in 2022. He's the glue guy for that 2022 team, and what was a very successful 2022 team. So instead of wearing 34 like he did in a Padres uniform, as a player, he'll be wearing 14. Down as the manager. So that's that. So just patiently waiting for Craig Stammen to join Tony Gwynn Jr. Obviously, he's got a lot of different things he's got to do. I think his press conferences are going to be good. I think he's going to be able to lead this team in the right direction, and I think he's a great hire for the Padres. I mean, the more it unpacks, and again, I mentioned last week, I got to hear him talk at the press conference, and I'm excited to hear him speak with Tony Gwynn Jr. And I think they're getting ready right now and sitting down at the table. So when they're ready to go, I think we'll be ready to go. And here's Tony Gwynn Jr. with Craig Stammen down there in Petco Park. Tony, take it away.
Thank you, Braden. Have newly crowned manager Craig Stammen with us. Craig, how are you, man? Congratulations on being the Padres' new manager.
Yeah, an exciting day, an exciting challenge. Happy to represent the Friar Faithful here as the manager of the Padres.
Now, you've been representing the Friar Faithful for a little bit here. Now you're out in the forefront. You mentioned family quite a bit. How important was it to get your wife Audrey on board with this? How long did it take you to get her in this direction?
It took a while. It's probably taken years, but I don't know. We were on the same page for a long time. For a long time we thought there's no way this is possible, with our family and be able to move them across country and take them out of school and all that kind of stuff. But we talked to enough people. We got to thank the Melancons. They kind of gave us the blueprint of how they've moved their kids from Florida to Arizona to San Diego, and we're going to follow that plan. And once we decided that, it was like, I talked about it a little. There was some peace that came over both of us to be able to say yes to this decision, because we knew it's an opportunity of a lifetime. Hard to say no to being the manager of Padres with a team like we've got.
Obviously, when you decided to retire in the 23, family's probably at the forefront of your mind. You've missed a lot of time with your kids and your wife, and now to fast forward to this point here, you're sitting in meetings at this point, interviewing candidates, and then however long later, what was the timeline in between you interviewing guys or candidates and then all of a sudden having your name in the hat?
Yeah. Man, just to think about what my mind was thinking about 3 weeks ago was completely different than what it is now. Obviously I'm part of the organization and wanted to find the best manager for the Padres. And so I was in on some Zoom calls, to start that process. And then we and I were just having conversations about who we thought were great candidates and how we ranked them. And we got done talking about it, and he goes, "Well, I think I got you at the top of the list." And
he just dropped that on you.
Yeah, he just dropped that on me. And, it's a little bit of a shock, when someone, like AJ believes in you that much. And it pushed Audrey and I to actually think about this. And, is this something that we would like to pursue? If we got that much belief from the organization, we've got to make an informed decision. Yeah. And so then after that, we spent a lot of time, like I said, praying and fasting and thinking about this and how trying to map out the schedule and work it out with our family. And once we came to the conclusion we're taking everybody with us, then we felt pretty good about it. And we're able to say, if you're willing to offer the job to us, we'll say yes.
13 years as a reliever. You spent 6 here as a Padre. How has that shaped your viewpoint and how the type of manager you'll be?
Yeah, I think one quality I have is a little bit of loyalty, and I was lucky in my career. I only really played for 2 organizations. I played 1 year with the Guardians in the middle, but not in the big leagues. But most of my career started with Washington, and then it ended with San Diego, and I feel very connected to this organization. I feel like it is family. They've treated me like family. And so, being a part of this and being in this role is something that's very exciting, and I'm up for the challenge.
Now, you had to get it out the mud, so to speak, right? You weren't a high round draft pick. You're a guy who had to kind of grind. That's the word we often use around this game. How is that, or what kind of lessons from those type of situations are you going to be able to take into your managerial role?
Yeah, maybe it's like people doubting you a little bit or not saying you're quite good enough. And there's probably some people thinking that as me as the manager. But it's also exciting to prove people who I really am and what I stand for, and maybe do it a little bit different than everybody expects. But those challenges as a player, they were so enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was so, you've done it before. It's fun to try to get the most out of your talent. And as soon as I took this job, that feeling of what I was as a player, when's my next workout? When's my next throwing session? Right. That constant thought, that feeling, that little nervousness, that little excitement came back right away. And it was I definitely missed that. Now, did I enjoy the 2 years in between? Yeah, I did. I got a lot, my handicap went down and all that kind of stuff. But, this challenge has gotten that excitement back, that feeling back of I'm in the hunt with the boys, and I'm ready to grind it out and make something special happen.
Now, Craig Stammen joins us here, Padres' new manager. And Craig, listen, I've had the opportunity to play for 2 managers that were in their first year. Don Mattingly and the late Ryan Sandberg in Philadelphia. Both of them had their struggles. Even though these are the best of the best type of players, they had their struggles. Where do you see yourself in terms of your staff and leaning on your staff to kind of be able to help you in those first year kind of struggles that many managers deal with at some point?
You're right. I'm going to lean on my staff a lot. And I remember having, small conversations with Bob Melvin about some of this stuff. And he was talking about some of the things he wished he knew when he was a first-year manager. And this was way back when I wasn't even thinking about this. We were just kind of talking. And he's like, I wish that I wouldn't have tried to do everything myself. He said, I felt like I had to be involved in everything and I had to be a part of every decision. And he goes, it's just not the case. He goes, there's a few things that I do need to be in charge of and as the manager, but I got good people around me. If I got good people around me, I just got to be able to trust them.
Right.
That'll be the hard part, but we're going to build that trust within the clubhouse, within the coaching staff. So I'm not doing it all myself. We're going to share responsibility. We're going to share the successes. I'll take the blame, and then we'll see where the dust settles. But I'll, obviously, hopefully gain a lot of experience where we get to the end of the season and we're in that playoff hunt.
Yeah.
That we're rolling and we're humming and we got a good process going.
Now, you mentioned, kind of building off what Mike has done here the last couple of years, adding to his legacy. You obviously have your own strengths, though. Where do you see your strengths being able to be applied to this ball club and how it may be of help?
Yeah, Mike had so much experience of organizing, how to be a great baseball team. He'd been mentored by many great managers, and he'd taken a lot from those guys. And I just listened to what he had to say about that stuff, and I saw how he did it, observing and listening to how he kind of went about his business. So a lot of the things that he did, I'm going to probably keep doing the same thing. What I think I can add is maybe just I'm a little younger. I got a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
I've got some relationships within the clubhouse that are maybe a little bit different. Does that give me the avenue to push them in a little bit different way, or like sneak in there to get them to do a few things that they haven't been quite open to in the past? Maybe I don't know. We'll find out. But, I'm going to treat them, with respect and hopefully get that respect back. And we're going to try to make this team as best they can be.
Craig Stammen joins us here, Padres' new manager. And Craig, you're clearly coming this with your eyes wide open with this situation. I heard you say partnering on multiple occasions up on the stand there. What does that look like for the fans who are listening and may not know what partnering looks like? What exactly is that?
Yeah, partnering, it's a give and a take. We have relationships with our families, our moms, our dads, our wives, our kids. It's not always my way or the highway.
Right.
There's got to be, even in this decision to become the manager, there was a lot of give and take with me and Audrey, deciding what was important to her and what we were going to miss by taking this, what was important to me, what I was going to miss in this, and then coming to a decision that works best for both of us. And I think those types of things can happen throughout the year with players, trying to get them on the field to do certain things in practice or in the game, but like partnering them in the way that's like, it's not just my decision.
Right.
We're in this together. We're accomplishing a goal together. It's not my, championship that we're going to win. It's our championship. It's the Padres championship. It's AJ's, it's John's, it's Eric's, it's Manny's, it's Toddy's.
Right.
It's all of ours together. It's Ruben's. We share that success together. I'll handle the blame, and then we'll do this together.
Last one, I'll let you get out of here. I know you got a busy day ahead of you. Mike Schilt did a terrific job of really shielding his players. He always was the man taking all the arrows coming at the ball club. But you also mentioned being able to push the guys. What does that look like? Because I think oftentimes fans hear, managers take the arrows and they're under the impression that there isn't any, pushing going on the backside of that. What does that look like sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, we got great players. So, like, the amount of pushing I need to do is limited.
Right.
But we can give them new ideas on how to navigate a season. And Mike was so good at, like, handling the players and taking the arrows, like you said, in the media and throughout the season and pumping those guys up and making them feel great. But there's ways that, like, maybe they haven't been exposed to, and that's what we're going to challenge our staff to do, is come up with creative ways to keep Manny Machado, healthy for a full season. Xander Bogaerts healthy for a full season as they get a little older in age, and can we have guys peaking at the right time and stuff like that? Just like open to new ideas and creative ideas, and the players will be partnering with the coaching staff to create something that we think will, build us a championship team.
Well, Craig, congratulations, man. It's been fun, this whole process, watching it come together, man. You get an opportunity to do it. Couldn't happen to a better person. Good luck this year, and we'll be talking quite often during the season.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can't wait to make the Gwynn family proud. You guys are the Padres family, and we're all family now, and this is going to be awesome together.
I appreciate those kind words, brother.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you, Tony. It was a great interview with Craig Stammen. And the more we get to hear Craig speak, the more excited you become to, for the season and to see what Craig Stammen can bring to this Padres organization. So it's really great to see Craig be part of this organization still. I mean, you get to hear the family aspect of things. You get to see the way that he, him and his family are about. I mean, creating a family type atmosphere. And I'm excited to see Craig Stammen get to work and represent the Padres. I think he does a great job representing this Padres organization. I mean, he is your head figure for baseball. I mean, obviously you have your head figures that do everything when it comes to meetings and everything like that. But the fact that Craig Stammen is going to be representing this Padres organization, I think is great. It's pretty cool to listen to him talk and lay out a lot of different things, that's going to be intact for the season and what you expect from him as things move about. But I think a great look at what you're going to see out of him as the manager. So Craig Stammen was just joined by with Tony Gwynn Jr. or Tony Gwynn Jr. was joined by Craig Stammen just moments ago. Again, this press conference is brought to you by the Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place, and we're just going to wait a little bit longer, and not too much longer, but AJ Preller is about to join Tony Gwynn Jr. too. Obviously, he's doing a lot of interviews as we speak, and it's going to be interesting to hear the process. I mean, this process is fascinating on how they came to the conclusion of Craig Stammen being the manager. I mean, at the beginning part, as you've seen in reports, I mean, Craig was part of the interviewing process. And then all of a sudden takes his name out of that and puts his name into the hat to potentially become the manager. And as Craig Stammen alluded to in his interview with Tony Gwynn Jr., it was listening and hearing from AJ Preller that Craig Stammen was his number one. So pretty cool to see, pretty remarkable story to get to this point, to get to the the new manager of the San Diego Padres. And again, I think everything that we hear from Craig gets you excited for Padres baseball, gets you excited for the 2026 season. But it sounds like they had, Craig penciled in as the guy that they really wanted from the get-go, and it was kind of convincing him to, not really want the job, because he obviously would love the job. But as he mentioned he's a family guy. I mean, it's the same situation as Nick Hundley, right? With the San Francisco Giants. He didn't want to uproot his family to a different place. Same thing with Craig Stammen. I mean, they moved back to Ohio. His whole family's from Ohio. They moved back there, after he retired, and, he would come and work here in San Diego, but to be the manager, he would have to be here full time, obviously. And it was the conversation, and, he said he prayed about it with his family. They fasted about it, and, came to the conclusion that this was the right move for the family. I mean, that's all part of the process. I mean, you're bringing in the Stammen family. They got to all be on board. So, he got the blessing from the family to go pursue the job, go pursue the dream. And, so now he's the new manager of the San Diego Padres. So, lots to unpack. Out of this press conference, out of the interview with Craig Stammen. We're frantically trying to get everything cut up and put together, and we're going to be talking about this a lot throughout the rest of the show today. And that's going to be, we're going to get your reactions as well to what the press conference was, what you thought about the press conference, and as we kind of await AJ Preller. So I'm excited. I said it last week. I said I can't wait to hear what Craig Stammen has to say, and you get excited about it. So right now, it looks like AJ Preller is sitting down with Tony Gwynn Jr., and we're going to get back to Tony. Tony, back to you down there in Petco Park.
Thank you, Braden. I'm sitting across from the head honcho, AJ Preller. And once again, he has zigged when everybody else was zagging. AJ, congratulations on the new hire. How are you?
Good, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Craig Stammen, been in the organization since 17, but with you since end of 23. And the one thing I've noticed about you in my time here is that often when you hire somebody, there's a reason behind it. You aren't just bringing somebody into your circle without good reason. And we fast forward to the day, Craig Stammen's your manager. How did you massage this? Because having talked to Craig personally, I know family was a big deal for him. Getting him to commit to being a manager with his family that lived in Ohio. How did you decide, or what way did you go about trying to massage that and get Craig to kind of maybe see that he could fit there?
I think just going kind of step by step and like just being truthful. I mean, Craig's a super genuine person, and I think he's somebody that he's a very straight shooter and honest person. So, I think when we started the process, after Schulte's announcement, we started with a long, large group of candidates, and basically, went to Craig and some others internally in the organization that that we think highly of, and just said, hey, would you want to be considered for this? And as we went through the couple-week process, for Craig, it was really just talking like step by step about what his questions or concerns were, explaining to him that we thought he'd be a strong candidate for the job. We also had some other really good candidates. Yeah. So, we just went kind of step by step. Initially, he was, at a spot where he just said, I don't think family-wise, I'm not sure if this is the next step for me. But kind of as we got through that first round of interviews, he came back and said, I've had a chance to talk to Audrey. Let's at least talk about what this would look like. So, it was an ability to just talk honestly. I think to me it was, again, I don't think we have to sell anything with the Padres. I think it's just more about this is what it's going to be. These are the questions. The organization well. And I think because of that, maybe it just led them to kind of start seeing, okay, like, this is a good step for our family. And this is something that I think baseball-wise, he always wanted to do it, but I think when he got some of the family questions about, what that meant for them to be in that chair, I think he started getting more and more comfortable with it. And he came back to us after the first round and said, look, if you guys want to consider me, like I'm in. Like this isn't something where I'm kind of half in, half out. Like I'd be in with my family. And then we were able to interview him and then kind of start the process with him and get to the next round with the different candidates.
Now, Stamp said that you were coy in the beginning, but the way you explained that would indicate that from the very beginning he was at least notified, hey, we kind of want you to do this.
Yeah, no, he'll say some of those things, and like again, like I think for us, like we were pretty, because we were getting into that interview process. I know some people have said, hey, is it weird that somebody was in the first round of interviews then became a candidate? I don't think so, because it's not just Craig. Like you mentioned, we've had there's a few managers that are out there and a lot of people in the game that have been in that kind of special assistant role, and they're in there because they've got great takes. And myself, Josh, we rely on that group. So a decision like making an important decision about the manager, Craig was going to be a part of that. But getting into that spot about, hey, if you're a couple other candidates that we talked to as well, they were comfortable at first sitting out and then eventually jumping in, right. Because you don't kind of want to cross that line either. So
as you started to go to the process, and you obviously knew what you liked about Stam, what was it about the things that he brings to the table that intrigued you of him being a manager?
I think first of all, you saw it today, he's just very genuine. He's very comfortable in his own skin. I think the same guy that you're going to see, whether we win 2 World Series or, we have a 3-game losing streak, I think you're going to get that same person. He's very familiar with our team and our organization. Like, I think we viewed it as a positive that he's played with, and, like he mentioned, he's been on the plane, he's playing cards with the group. But he also has a backbone. He's not somebody that, at the end of the day is just going to be about being buddy with somebody. He understands that he's very competitive and he's an elite competitor. So, and I think too, like that role that Schulte put together in terms of Craig, AJ Ellis, Alan Craig, they were in uniform, and they were kind of an extension of the coaching staff, working with our players, going down into the minor leagues and working with players, and then being part of our big league group. So, it wasn't necessarily he was in, khakis and a polo shirt or basketball shorts and a t-shirt, but, he was, he was in uni with the group as an extension, just getting a different perspective and kind of seeing it from the coaching staff standpoint, the manager standpoint, learning from that group. I thought all of that, all those unique experiences for him, what he's like as an individual, what he's like as a player, and what he's taken on the last couple of years. And he didn't just, it wasn't like, hey, he was bouncing in like, hey, once each half or whatever. I mean, he was, he was seeing 40, 50 games live in person around the team, spring training the entire time. Involved in all of our meetings with Schulte and the group before and after games, sitting in Schulte's office till late at night. I think all those things prepare him for the job.
You mentioned backbone. There's this idea that somehow Craig can be a yes man to you. How much do you want different opinions and have created an environment where there is debate on certain issues and things and how you see the team?
Yeah, that's our environment. It's like if you can work in that environment where, again, you're going to throw a topic out there and best idea wins, and it can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to come. A lot of the good ideas we've had doesn't have to be from the general manager or from the assistant general manager. We've got a great organization. We've got people that have been in their jobs for a long time and are really good at what they do. And I've seen Craig, and he's seen us. Like he mentioned, kind of having a different seat the last 3 years. He's seen how that works. That's just leadership. Like the best people are comfortable in their skin. They're able to get different takes and opinions. They're able to use that information. But then ultimately, we give a lot of leeway to our manager to make the decisions. We're not the group that's, hey, this is the lineup simulator and go run this.
Right.
But it's also like, hey, here's the different pieces of information that you need, from R&D, from our coaching staff, from our players, from the front office to go make informed decisions. And then, like any leader, like I expect him to make those calls, and again, I said, like we saw it as a player, like he had, to sit there with Ron and Peter and Ron dug in on some different things, and Craig was able to explain to Ron all the time, like, hey, this is my perspective and this is why I feel this way. And it wasn't the union's perspective, it wasn't the commissioner's perspective, it was, it was what he thought was best for the players, for Ron, for the organization, and it made a lot of sense. When you see somebody in those kind of environments and settings, just again, you just get a lot of respect for him, and that's just been kind of what me and Josh have seen over the years.
AJ Preller joins us, head of baseball operations here with the Padres. And AJ, as you start to look at the things that are strengths for Craig, how do you feel it comes in and can help what's already kind of been built here going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think he's realistic. Like you're not, again, like we've had some success, and now it's ultimately like, yeah, you're going to take another step. It's a big part of it is through hard work, and that's the way he was as a player. That's the way he's been as a staff member. Instilling that, like you got to be willing to make some sacrifices, and I think the group our team's made sacrifices over the years to get to the point that we've gotten to. But hey, there's probably another step there, and I think for him, being able to have the relationships with the players to be able to say, okay, let's commit to something, and then ultimately, have the knowledge and expertise to put a staff together that has that expertise to then figure out what those next steps are and hold players accountable. He did that as a player. He's done that as a staff member. He's going to do it as a manager. And I feel strongly about that. And, I think to me, in terms of the culture, like the family component that he's talking about, like, we've had very good locker room the last couple of years. I know, like, you lose to the Cubs and all of a sudden that means something must have been wrong, or this guy doesn't like that guy. Like that hasn't been the case. But in terms of finding like, that next step or that next level and what that looks like, he did that as a player that had ability, but he was able to achieve or overachieve. He's done that as a staff member. And I think that's what he's going to ask of our whole group, knowing there's probably a little bit more there for us if we're going to be, having a parade here. And I think he's going to have the ability to ask that of the players and kind of demand that of the whole group, honestly.
AJ Preller joins us here. And AJ, a couple more questions before I let you get out of here. This is one of the box checked for this offseason. You got GM meetings coming up here. You got winter meetings thereafter. A couple qualifying offers to guys who have been important to this roster. Pretty, I would say, maybe not top tier at the top of the list in starting pitching, but a lot of guys in there. How do you see this offseason shaping, including perhaps maybe adding a bat?
Yeah, no, it's, again, I think we look at it, we know we have some, strong pen coming back. We have, again, like a lot of the core pieces from an offensive standpoint that'll be back into play. We've got to adjust the starting pitching for sure, and then to me, like, and continue to add to the offense. So whether that's complementary bat, whether that's big bat, whether that's power bat, whether that's left, right, those are what the next the next couple of weeks are going to be about. And, we start today, like going to the GM meetings, you start getting a sense of what the market's going to look like, having more in-person conversation about trades and free agency. But again, we feel like we're starting with a team that's obviously, gone to the playoffs here now a few times, and, a large part of that group's coming back. But clearly with King and Cease free agency, Darvish injury, Joe coming back, Pavetta being back, got to add to the starting staff. We've got to continue to look at it and rounding out the offense. That's what this week starts with.
Lastly, internally, at least you read discussion perhaps of having some of those bullpen guys become starters. And this is one of the organizations that has had a lot of success in turning guys from relievers to starters. How much credence should people put into the fact maybe Mason Miller, maybe maybe you got a couple other Morty Hone options out there? What does that look like when, that type of thing is addressed?
Yeah, I think everything first just speaks to the fact that we have talented pitchers that, have the ability to at least put us in those conversations. And we've had that in the past with, the Kings and Lugo and Palmer and some of the guys that have made that switch. I think for us, we'll go through the process of kind of evaluating delivery, arm action, stuff, mentality. And then, to me, like getting Craig in place, he'll participate in that for sure. But having the staff really get together, we're going to round out the staff here this week for, from a coaching staff standpoint, and then start those meetings. And that'll be one of the conversations is, are there some relievers we feel like that we want to talk to and see where that goes. But we've made that evaluation in the past. It's been an area that we've had some success with. We're going to get into that here in the next couple of weeks. And again, we'll be open to having that conversation. Ultimately we may get through it and feel like, no, this is a little different than it was in the past. Right. And we feel good about the way those guys are in the pen, and we've got to find starting pitching elsewhere.
Considering your weeks are going to be busy, is basketball off this next Friday?
That's always on it. We'll find some time for that, actually.
Fair enough. AJ, congratulations on the hire, man, and good luck in the offseason.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Braden, back to you, brother.
Thank you, Tony. This has been a presentation of the Craig Stammen introductory press conference presented by Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll break down everything that was said at the press conference. You're listening to 97 Through the Fan, San Diego's #1 sports station. Hour number 2 on the Braden Surprenant Show time slot. We just completed the Craig Stammen press conference, the introductory press conference of Craig Stammen becoming the new manager of the San Diego Padres. I think the vibes are good after that particular press conference. I liked everything about it. I think Craig, again, I mentioned before, you get to see, when you talk about a relief pitcher and a guy that, has spent his entire career as a bullpen arm. I mean, you don't get to hear from pitchers too many times, and you only got to hear from Craig Stammen a handful of times since he became, a Padre, right? Because who are the players that are mostly getting interviewed after games or maybe before games? They're not necessarily pitchers. And on top of that, hardly ever relief pitchers. So even though he's been interviewed before, even though he's, talked to the media before over the long period of time that he's been a San Diego Padre, I thought this was the first time that a lot of fans, for the Padres fans, got to know Craig Stammen and got to see what he's all about. And I like everything about it. I think he's a very likable person. I think he's a very likable man. I think he's a very, very much a calm man. And sometimes you need that to help lead the charge. I mean, the last thing you need is, somebody getting super emotional while he's managing games. I think the game management side of things, after listening to this press conference, is going to be in good form. I also think the relationship he has with Ruben Niebla is going to make this great and make this a great hire for the San Diego Padres as they go into 2026. And so in learning about the process and hearing, how this came about, how the Padres were able to put this thing together, and how they came to the conclusion of Craig Stammen and getting to hear from Craig Stammen, it makes you like it even more. But I thought Craig Stammen did a great job during the press conference. I thought AJ Preller did a great job during the press conference. I think both of them did a really good job of talking to Tony Gwynn Jr. about what to expect and everything like that. So from that perspective, I think it's time to roll. I mean, this is the manager. This is the guy that's in charge of pushing all the right buttons and everything like that. Now it's time to focus on the next task at hand. And that is to go out there and improve the starting pitching. That is to go out there and add some slug to the lineup. I mean, the Padres know that they have a good bullpen. That was mentioned by AJ Preller. But now is the time to start working on all these other things because free agency is open. We got the general manager meetings going on in Vegas, something that AJ Preller is going to have to head out to. We got owners meetings coming up. We got the winter meetings coming up. And so over the course of the next couple of months, you're going to see this team slowly get put together. And here's the thing that's it has to be mentioned before. I'm going to mention it earlier this year than I did in previous years. Is you can't judge this 2026 team until it is fully put together. And I've used this analogy multiple times, and I've gotten it from, I actually, first heard it from Doug Gottlieb, but the fact of the matter is it's correct. This offseason and the way that they put the team together and the way that they put this Padres team together, it's going to be a process that goes over a couple of months. It's almost like remodeling your house. And so when you're in the process of remodeling your house or maybe building something on the side, there's a lot of things that are going to start to come together that you might not like, but the reality is you can't really judge it until it's finished. And I think you look at last year's team, you really couldn't even judge last year's team until you ultimately got to the trade deadline when that final team was put together and finished. And so there's going to be some long processes to building this roster. And it could be taking some chances on some players you have in your organization. It could be trying to get maybe more out of some of the players that you have under contract. It could be potentially trading away some players that you have part of your organization. And then it's going to be about trying to find the right deals in place in free agency and trying to maybe align on some trades to try to, in my opinion, bring in starting pitching. I think it's going to be very difficult to bring in starting pitching from a free agent perspective. I just, with the way that, money is right now for the San Diego Padres and for really a lot of teams in baseball, and with this potential lead into a lockout, it's going to be a very interesting free agency time. And that's why I think that's a big reason why you haven't heard anything. I mean, I continue to check the website and I continue to go on MLB.com. And we're going to update you on this in the 11 o'clock hour during the entire offseason. At the beginning of the 11 o'clock hour on the Braden Surprenant Show, during the whole offseason, we'll keep you updated on which teams or what the latest free agent and trade rumors are. And right now, there's not a lot to really talk about. I mean, there's been a couple of things here and there, but you haven't really seen the full scale of free agency get put together yet. They talked about some players that are going to be posted from Japan. There's been some news about, Kyle Schwarber and whether or not these reporters and everything think that they could get, whether they know if these guys are going to sign early or not. Now, the latest rumor we had on Dylan Cease, are the Astros the favorites to sign Dylan Cease? Dodgers, Blue Jays, Yankees viewed as likely Tucker landing spots. Could the Orioles be involved? I mean, these are all things that you're going to see over the offseason. We're going to keep you updated on that in the 11 o'clock hour. Every single day. Now, tomorrow, as people have alluded to in the chat, tomorrow's Veterans Day, and we appreciate everybody that has proudly served the United States militaries and all the different militaries out there for the United States, all the different branches of the military. We will not have a show tomorrow. We will not have any shows tomorrow. We will all be back on Wednesday. So as we continue on in the show, just wanted to make that big thank you to everybody and a huge thanks to anybody that has served for our military. Again, we will be off tomorrow for Veterans Day. But as we get back on track, and we've got to take a break, we're going to dive into this Craig Stammen press conference today, hiring of Craig Stammen, and get to the phones. How do you feel now, Padres fans, after being able to hear from Craig Stammen? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll get your reactions when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. August 97 to the Fan. Join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego Padres Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Talked about, obviously, the press conference from earlier today. We're going to play clips of that for you a little bit later on in the show. A lot of stuff to really break down from this press conference. I mean, you heard from AJ Preller, you heard from Craig Stammen. They had multiple questions that they answered, but then also they both were on with Tony Gwynn Jr. live at the venue. So Frank has been nonstop over there. But overall, what'd you think about Craig Stammen's press conference? I thought he did a really good job.
No, he did. He came off as a very likable, personable guy, taking the jokes with the 4 straight home runs. I mean, that was it was all the things you wanted to hear from a managerial press conference. And I, of course, little skeptical, first-time manager. He was up in the front office for all this time, so he does have the knowledge of how the team works, and he's close with the players that are currently on the roster. So it's not like, as Joe Musgrove said on with Gwen and Chris on Thursday, there's not that learning curve where he has to learn the guys who are there. He already has that relationship established. Now it's just figuring out what this team is going to look like going into next year. And I think, like I said, skeptical, of course, but overall very encouraged by what we heard today.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, about the camaraderie, the consistency, the, keeping everything intact with what you have and to go along with the familiarity, he's familiar with everybody in town. and everything about the organization, right? I mean, I've heard that from a lot of different people about the organization and like learning the organization and being part of the organization and, learning everybody's name, throughout the organization, and also the media people. I mean, there's a lot of, people in the media that have interviewed Craig Stammen multiple times. There's not this learning curve of learning about, who are the, people in the industry, right? Who are the people that are covering this team? Who are the people in the clubhouse? Who are these guys that he knows all those people too. So I think that brings a lot. And I think, honestly, the biggest win for this entire situation, and something that a lot of people were worried about in Ruben Niebla staying, because regardless of whoever got the managerial job, the biggest question mark after that would have been, if it wasn't Ruben Niebla, is Ruben Niebla staying? And I think that's a big get for the San Diego Padres, even bigger that he was at the press conference today.
Oh, 100%. And that quells a lot of question marks, which there are plenty of this off season. And as you had mentioned, it's every rebuilding phase goes through a bit of an ugly phase where you don't quite get the image, you don't quite see the picture, you kind of know where you're headed, but it doesn't look great. There might be a couple of those points this off season, but I have confidence in the organization to be able to put out the team that they need to in order to compete. They've done it the last 5 years very successfully, and this upcoming year I don't see it being any different.
I'm looking forward to this pitching staff. I think the Padres I think they're built to have a really good pitching staff. They already have the good arms in the bullpen, but now with Craig Stammen at the helm and Ruben Niebla as the pitching coach, should be really, really good and set up. When we come back, your reactions to Craig Stammen becoming the manager of the San Diego Padres. How did he do at the press conference? We think he did a really good job. What do you think? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station, 97 through the Fan. Can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Stream your local NFL game live every Sunday, all season long, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $250 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. We got a lot to talk about on the show today. We got a lot really planned for tomorrow as well, kind of recapping the weekend in professional and college sports. I don't know what happened to the Aztecs on Saturday. That was rough. That was a rough time. That's why we talked about that game being kind of a trap game. San Diego State's still in control of their own destiny when it comes to football and hosting the Mountain West Championship game, but you could kiss the college football playoff kind of aspect of goodbye. The only thing that really benefited them was the fact that the ACC looked like crap over the weekend, too. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. We're going to talk about the college football playoff stuff tomorrow.
Wednesday.
We're going to talk about, we're off tomorrow. Keep forgetting about that. Wednesday. We're going to talk about that Wednesday. We'll have the college football playoff rankings reviewed coming out on Tuesday that we could talk about on Wednesday. The NFL whip around on Wednesday. Overreactions, the NFL weekend on Wednesday. We're going to try to get to some San Diego FC stuff later on. San Diego FC moving on in the playoffs. Dominating win over Portland yesterday, Frank. It scored early and often.
Walked the dog on Portland last night.
I was talking to Drake about that on Saturday night. We had the USD men's soccer team, 7th in the country, by the way, Frank.
Oh, the boys?
They knocked off Gonzaga, and they have a fun weekend coming up this weekend. They got Oregon State, who is the top of the leaderboard. Oregon State, 20 points in the standings, Frank. So USD has 19 points. Portland's got 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
USD plays Oregon State, and Portland's got a game that they should be able to win. Portland beat San Diego head-to-head. Portland and Oregon State tied head-to-head. So you got a lot of interesting play on Saturday. If USD wins on Saturday at Oregon State, a place that nobody has won besides the Beavers, then they will be West Coast Conference champions. That's what's at stake this weekend in men's soccer for college. Now, I was talking to Drake on Saturday about what he was expecting in the San Diego FC Portland game, a little off the cuff, and he said, I predict that San Diego FC is going to take care of business against Portland, and that's exactly what they did.
Boy, did they. That's an understatement, too.
So we're going to talk more about that later on in the show. As the show continues, for everybody that's just tuning in, today was Craig Stammen's press conference, introductory press conference that we carried commercial-free, courtesy of Hamul Casino. We are going to have aspects of that as the show goes on. We'll hear from AJ Preller. We'll hear from Craig Stammen. Both of them were sat down with Tony Gwynn Jr. We will replay those interviews for you later on in the show as well. But we do want to get to your phone calls. We do want to see what you guys think about how Craig Stammen handled the press conference. I thought he did a really good job. I thought the vibes down there were great. I thought the vibes about the day today has been very positive. We've seen a lot of positive things from this hire. And I think a lot of fans that might have been against it at the beginning are starting to be won over based on the press conference that Craig Stammen had. And that's what I said last week. You got to listen to him talk and see what he's got to say. And we'll play some of those clips as Frank is frantically cutting everything up for us behind the scenes later on in the show in the noon and the 1 o'clock hour. But do want to get to your phone calls today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Galveston, Texas, where David is standing by. David, what's going on, man?
What's up, boys? How you doing?
Doing well.
Thanks for taking my call. Hey, so I just had a quick question. I'm just thinking about you, Braden, as a high school football coach, and I only ever played like Carlsbad youth baseball as a little kid in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I don't have a ton of sports experience. And I'm just wondering, when I listen to, now that we're in the college football season, I'm listening to like Curt Cignetti post-game interviews, and I'm like, man, this guy's a dog. And when I listen to baseball coaches, especially like I went after listening to Curt Cignetti's post game after beating Oregon. And then I went and listened to a Mike Schilt post game, and I was like amazed at how drastically different they were. And I guess one of my concerns going forward with whoever the coach is going to be of the Padres, I'm just wondering, like, is that something baseball needs, is like a dog, or like, is that not even a thing? Because when I look at the Dodgers, I feel like there's like a look, maybe it's just Mookie Betts and the crazy look he gets in his eyes, but it seems like they're scared to lose. and they don't seem as afraid to bench players that aren't producing. So I'm just wondering how that all plays out. Is it just two different sports, or what do you think?
It definitely is two different sports, David. I appreciate the phone call, man, and the question, because it's definitely two different sports. And coming from a football background, you want to see that high energy guy and play with emotion and get excited and have that like cutthroat mentality and everything like that. That is strictly for football. It's strictly for football, because in football you're trying to channel your anger, you're trying to channel your emotions and use it for the benefit. What you can't do is you can't play baseball like that. I mean, you can try, but like you can't really play baseball like that. Like, baseball is a sport of failure. Like in football, you're spending an entire week preparing for a team, and it's a lot of schematic deals, and it's a lot of like, we have to do this to stop them running this play, or we need to be able to run this play against this defense. And it's a lot of preparation and a lot of X's and O's and a lot of executing, and 11 guys having to do their job for the betterment of the team. Now, the difference in baseball, it's a very individual sport in a team setting. Like, and a lot of it is like I said, based on failure. There's a lot of things that just don't go your way in baseball that you have to flush. You got to flush it. I mean, baseball mentality is like, so what? So what? Because you have to be able to flush the mistakes. You got to be able to flush the failure and be ready to take over the next day. I mean, in football, you lose a game on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, that is eating at you for like 2 or 3 days. You can't play baseball like that. You just flat out can't play baseball like that. Like for football, you got a couple of days off where you can, regroup and then use that energy that might be negative and turn into a positive to get ready for your next game. But in baseball, it's like, you got to go. You got the next day. You got to go out there and compete. You got to go out there and play. You can't let the last play affect you moving forward. And when you have that, you can't have like, I haven't seen a lot of rah-rah guys have success. And I think in professional baseball, all of these baseball players know, again, it's a sport of failure, and I got to flush things out. They don't need guys like yelling and screaming at them. And they don't need this, cutthroat mentality. I mean, you're there to get your players in the right mindset to be ready to play. And that's what you need with the baseball manager. That's why baseball managers, you see all these guys getting hired, they're calm. You need a calm manager in baseball. You need somebody that's not going to get over animated. It's not going to stress anybody out, because you can't play when you're stressed out. You can't play when you're thinking about things. You can't play. It's a sport that you can't play with a lot of pressure. And that's why we talk about it so much on the radio. That's why we have talked about, what Jackson Merrill said about, applying pressure. You want to be the team that does apply pressure, because when teams have to play with pressure, I don't care how good they are, it's very difficult to do. And the season for baseball is incredibly long. So, long story short, yeah, you don't really want those guys in professional baseball. You don't want those managers in professional baseball. It's just a way different sport and how you go about things. And again, it's about keeping those guys calm, cool, and collected. That's what you want to see out of a baseball manager. You don't need that. It's different for football. You need some rah-rah for football. You got to get fired up, and you got to go out there, and there's a lot of, physicality to the sport. It's a lot of combat in the sport. I mean, it is a brutal sport. Baseball is a skill sport. It's a sport based on skill. Very athletic players doing things in a very skillful way. And that's the main difference. That's why I like what Craig Stammen had to say. That's why I like the way Craig Stammen set up for this job. I mean, they used to have some, fire and brimstone type managers, but to me, that you only get to do that maybe once or twice a season, and then all of a sudden it's like, nah. It's like, nah. And the thing is, like, when I coach, And being able to be around USD's baseball team and see how they do things at the college level, and being around the Padres and seeing how they do things from a professional level, and just seeing baseball and using that kind of mentality, I use that while I coach in football. Sometimes there are situations in which I tell my players they need to have a more baseball mentality on certain things. I coach cornerbacks, and I've coached DBs for the last 8 years. And I work with special teams, so I got to work with a lot of kickers. And a lot of the skill set for corners and kickers is very mental, because being a cornerback, that's a position that's built on failure. That's the hardest position to play, arguably, in sports, is playing corner in football. At the highest level in the pros, that is the hardest job to do, because you are going against elite athletes, and you have to cover elite athletes without making really any contact with these guys, and you have to do it backwards while they're going full speed forward. And so there's got to be a lot of failure in that. And you have to have that baseball mentality of saying, so what, on to the next play, where other positions don't necessarily need that. The same thing is for kickers. Like I consider kickers in football to be just like pitchers in baseball. They're kind of like they're a different breed. You don't really want to talk to them before they go out there and kick. They're very meticulous. They're very in on their craft. There's a lot of things that they have to do. And so I have a rule: nobody's allowed to talk to the kicker except for me and the head coach. Nobody else talk to the kicker. And the same thing can be said about the bullpen. I don't think you should have anybody really talking to the bullpen. Let the pitchers go out there and do their job. And so, again, from that mentality, when you're a kicker, that's the other thing. You have to have that baseball mentality. That's so what mentality, because that is a skill set that is very difficult to do, and something that you cannot do when you're stressed out. It's something you cannot do when there's pressure. You have to keep it light, and you have to push the pressure away. So as David in Galveston pointed out, he sees some of these college coaches. That does a lot of things for football teams, but it's not going to be the same results in baseball. That's why the guys that are coaching football are coaching football. It's a long story, but I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, Frank, you played high school baseball, and I mean, when guys are yelling at, that makes that job way harder to do, whether you're catching or in the batter's box. You want to be the calm team, because that's the team that usually has the most success in the baseball field.
Yeah, no, and if you're playing tense, you're most likely losing. I mean, we see it, not even forget about playing at high school or even little league at that matter. You see it in the pros all the time. You can tell when guys are playing tense because they're doing things that are uncharacteristic to what they normally do and aren't having success. It's the teams and the guys that are loose and relaxed and just enjoying what they're doing most are the ones that do have the success. So I mean, that's something that goes through all levels of sports, not just in a sport period. If you're tense, you're not going to have the success.
Yeah, and then some people in the chat are like, well, don't you want somebody to get the offense fired up? No. I need a guy in there to just be like, hey, let's go get it and go be you kind of attitude. I mean, I there's a lot of importance to being excited for baseball and in the game, but at the end of the day, this is a sport based on failure, and you need to be calm. You can't overhype yourself in the box. You can't overhype yourself on the mound. You can't get that adrenaline too high, because then it sets up for it's too much. It's you almost psych yourself out. And there's certain sports where you can't do that. There's sports where you can play off your emotions. Baseball to me is not one of those sports, Frank.
No, certainly not. And I just saw a tweet that somebody had put out a couple of days ago from Joe DiMaggio. Said he played X amount of years in the majors, walked 1,500 times, struck out 1,300 times, and had about an average of 500 at-bats a year. So he had about 7 years where he didn't touch the ball at all. that just goes to show, and everyone says how great Joe DiMaggio was and the legend that he is. That just goes to show how much failure to have half of your career where he never even touched the ball. And he's considered one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's why George Carlin has a thing on football compared to baseball and it being different. It's just it's different. You know, I don't get you don't want your guys getting super hyped, you know, before the game because sometimes it gets just too much. Same thing with like golf. You want to be calm in golf. Baseball's a lot like golf. You want to be calm. You don't want to think about it during your swing. When you're thinking about making adjustments in the middle of your swing or getting too hyped up and you're thinking about the wrong things, you fail in baseball, especially at the level of the professional level. So no, you don't need you don't need Craig Stammen to be out there and being rah-rah and yelling at guys. And the other thing too, it kind of comes with what kind of team do you have? And I'm going to say this, like at the beginning part of me coaching, there was a lot of times you would yell, but like this new generation of athlete is not about, they don't respond well to yelling. If you're going to yell, you're going to have to pick them up after the fact. And it just kind of depends on what your team calls for. And every kid that I coach is different.
Yeah.
There are players I have that, you know, are used to the yelling or used to the, I don't say aggressive coaching, but they're not gonna they're actually gonna, you know, thrive off of the challenge. And there's other kids that you coach that aren't going to do that, and you have to kind of pick them up like, hey, we got to be better here and do it in a I don't want to say nicer way to say that the other way is mean, but different players have different ways that they like to be coached or that their personality fits with. And so when you're the comm manager that the Padres have hired and a guy like Craig Stammen, he's able to do a lot of those things. And I don't think there's a lot of guys on the Padres team that, you know, necessarily are receptive to just getting screamed at.
No,
but I don't think there's a lot of teams in baseball right now that are going to be like, rah, rah, we're excited after getting yelled at.
The biggest issue for a manager or a head coach is to figure out who responds to what way you need to get the message across. Like you said, there are some kids that respond and get it when they're getting screamed and yelled at, head coach in your face, that kind of thing. There's also plenty of people, myself more included in this, just tell me what I need to do. If I'm screwing up, let me know where and how you want me to do it. And then it just let me work on it. Let me get better. You just have to figure out who responds to what. But you have to get that same message across no matter what.
The best way, and some of the best teams that I have ever been a part of have been player led.
Yeah.
You can have good teams that are, you know, leadership from the coaching staff. You can have good teams like that. But the great teams are the ones that are well coached, but also are player led. And if you look at, I mean, I could just speak from the perspective of the teams that I've coached that have gone on to win championships. They were heavily player led, and it mattered to the players. And those are the ones that were calling the shots and getting ready for the game. And the managers and the coaching staff didn't have to say much. And that, to me, is going to be the biggest sign of success for the Padres, is it has to come from the clubhouse. Regardless if it was Craig Stammen or Albert Pujols or Ruben Niebla or Nick Hundley or whoever it may be, this team that the Padres have is going to go as far as their player-led group will take them. They can be a good team, and Craig Stammen can be a good leader, but it's going to have to come from the clubhouse to win a World Series. And you look at the teams that have done it. I mean, you look at I know everybody down here doesn't like the Dodgers. I don't like the Dodgers either. But that is a player-led team. And for the last 2 years, they've had guys like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and some of the best in Major League Baseball who are goal-win oriented, that lead in a great way, have won the World Series, and that is a player-led thing. I don't think Dave Roberts is like this mystical creature that can get the most out of all their players. He's there He runs what the organization wants to do. He keeps the clubhouse happy. The clubhouse loves Dave Roberts. And he's got veteran leaders that lead the clubhouse. And that's what you need for the Padres. You need those guys in the clubhouse that are the ones that are supposed to be the core group. They need to lead this team. So you can say what you want about Craig Stammen. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know how he's going to lead this team. Well, he's going to handle the situational stuff, and he's going to keep morale high, and that's going to be doing the job. I mean, that's what Mike Schilt did last couple of seasons. The players at the end of the day, when they lead the team and they do a great job, that is when your teams do a great job. It's player-led. So an interesting question asked by David from Galveston. When we come back, we're going to play some of the clips from today's press conference as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97.3 The Fan.
It's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
This hour of baseball talk is brought to you by SD Collectibles. Get ready, sports and Pokemon collectors. SD Collectibles Card Show is back at Liberty Station with over 100 vendor tables. November 22nd and 23rd. Find sports cards, Pokemon memorabilia, and more. Visit sdcollectibles.com for info. That's sdcollectibles.com. I'm Braden Surprenant. He's Frank Marchese. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Obviously, a lot of Padres baseball to talk about today when it comes to the managerial hire of Craig Stammen. Today was the introductory press conference, and we're going to play clips about from the press conference as the day goes about. I do want to mention, in the next hour at 1 o'clock, remember to listen for us to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. Register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. Noon lunchtime hour. It's been, I can't believe we've already went through the 2 hours, Frank, but that's what happens on press conference days, huh?
Especially when you have a day off tomorrow.
Yeah, off day for everybody at the Fan tomorrow. We are celebrating Veterans Day tomorrow. So a big thank you to everybody that has served in the branches of the military who are veterans. We really appreciate all of the sacrifice that you and your families have made for the betterment and the safety of all of us here at home. So a big thank you to all of you out there that are veterans. We really appreciate everything that you've done. And, Frank and I are going to be going to the Army-Navy game coming up in a month or so, just under a month, I think, at this point. And it's, Frank's never been, right? That's correct. The first time I ever went to that was just the most chilling experience ever, seeing what a lot of young people, and they look like children now. They just look so young, that are in the military academies, that are at West Point, that are at Annapolis, and signing up to help defend and support our country. It really puts things into perspective of everybody that has served in the military in any sort of way. So a big thank you to everybody that has served in the military, and enjoy your Veterans Day tomorrow. If you can, hopefully, all veterans should be able to get the day off on Veterans Day. I know Richard Padilla in the chat says he's a vet and he's got to go work tomorrow. We appreciate your time, effort, and sacrifice for the betterment of all of us. We really appreciate all of that. I got a lot of friends that have been in the military, that are still in the military, that do a lot of cool stuff and a lot of crazy things for us to be safe and protected at home. So a big thank you from all of us here at 97 through the Fan and for the Braden Surprenant Show to all of you guys out there that are veterans, doing all the work that needs to be done to keep us safe on a daily basis. So we will not have shows tomorrow in honor of Veterans Day. As we continue on this show, we are going to be playing clips from the press conference. So if you missed anything, if you are just tuning in and wanted to know what was going on with the introductory press conference, all of that stuff is archived. Wherever you get your podcast, it is also on YouTube. You can go back and watch the beginning part of this particular show on YouTube, and you'll be able to find the press conference, for this particular time slot. Which is good. The other thing we're going to get to as the show progresses, Tony Gwynn Jr. sat down with both Craig Stammen and AJ Preller. We're going to play those later on in the show in the 1 o'clock hour. And we do want to get your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. And we'll continue the conversation about that. Later on, if we have time, we'll talk more about San Diego FC. After a big win over Portland, they're advancing to the conference semifinals in MLS, and we'll get you an update on the bracket and how everything plays out. And I know there's a break that's going to happen, an international break in the middle of this thing, so we'll keep you updated with all of that. And then a lot of our show on Wednesday is going to be kind of the show that we usually have on a Monday. A lot of NFL talk. High school football is in action in full force in the playoffs. We'll talk some high school football. Aztec football did not do well over the weekend, but we got to start getting a preview for their game against Boise State as they still control their own destiny to host the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Tough one. They took off the chin in Hawaii over the weekend. Aztecs basketball looked pretty good. They remain undefeated. So a lot of stuff to get to in the next couple of days that we're going to get to on Wednesday. Today is a lot about the Padres, though, and about the hiring of Craig Stammen. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. But right now, we want to go back and play the opening statement from A.J. Preller for anybody that missed it earlier today and what he said about the hiring of Craig Stammen. Here's A.J. Preller from earlier today in his opening statement at the press conference.
Obviously excited here today to announce Craig as our next manager. Craig's joined by his wife, Audrey, his children, Chase, Summit, Ty, and Cece, his parents, Jeff and Kanye, and his brother, Brent. They've been a big part of the Padre family, and I know over the course of the last couple of weeks, big part of this decision. So excited to see everybody again. How did we get here? I think, it's been kind of a decade in the making in terms of, minor league free agency. Craig was a target guy for us, kind of leaving the Nats. And we actually lost a heated recruiting battle with the Cleveland Guardians at the time. Andy Green, self-proclaimed, was our closer and never lost a battle except on trying to sign Craig at that time. He signed with Cleveland, chose Ruben over the Pods at that time. And but the next year we were able to line up on Craig. He was coming back from an arm injury. And it was pretty clear in spring training that that he was what's made him a quality big league pitcher. You could see pretty quickly in terms of the ability to throw strikes, change speeds, field his position. And that was pretty obvious from minute one. I think the part that was fun to watch over the course of that first season and the years to come were the reasons why he's in this chair here today. An elite competitor, incredibly hard worker, very prepared, and a natural leader, and somebody that, as a pitcher was able to touch different elements of our clubhouse and be able to bond and connect with different players in that clubhouse over the course of a 7-8 year period here with San Diego. I think Craig has a unique seat and a unique lens. He was part of those building teams. And then he's been able to see it through to the playoff teams and the teams that have won 90 plus games here the last 2 years. So, he's been part of some really, really high highs, no hitters and, teams that, again, like Craig starting a playoff game, I think, which is definitely a career highlight, starting game 3 for us against the Cardinals. Then also been, had a front row seat to some of the disappointments of the last few years. And I think he's going to carry those experiences with him here in this chair. One thing specific that stood out for me, that COVID season, it was kind of a weird time, the 2020 year, and all of us kind of figuring out what to do, life, baseball. But as an organization, there were a lot of decisions that came up that year where it was a true partnership between players, staff, Eric, myself, Ron, Peter, and just a lot of conversations about, how do we go about this? How do we go about practicing, getting ready for the year? How do we go about keeping people, healthy and safe? And, seeing Craig at that time, I was able to see him from a different lens, as not just as a pitcher, not just as a leader in the clubhouse, but somebody that can make good decisions for the organization. And there were a lot of conversations week to week, day to day about how do we do this? What's best for the Padres? What's best for a group of people? What's best for families? And I think when we came out of that process, Josh and myself, I think we knew at that point in time that, hey, hopefully Craig is pitching here for a long time, but when he does decide to hang him up, we want him here in the organization, as part of a leadership team, and maybe one day sitting in a chair like this. I remember too, there was a day we were sitting in a boardroom with Ron and Peter, And I think we've all seen employees when they're around their boss and maybe say what the boss wants to hear. And Craig was, looking at at the owners of the Padres and explaining to them in a very well thought out, detailed manner why maybe a different path was better for us in that season at that point in time. And it was just very impressive to see somebody that had taken in a lot of opinions, could take in different information, maybe not go down the path that would have been the easiest path at that time in terms of a decision. And so when you see that, it's again, it's pretty special, and that stuck with me and with Josh as we've kind of gone about this process for sure. Over the last couple of weeks, a wide range of candidates. When we go through this process, you get a chance to talk to some very bright minds in the game. We've talked to tremendous ex-players. We've talked to up-and-coming, coaches in the minor leagues. Talked to coaches internally in our building that are tremendous coaches and tremendous leaders. I think a common theme, you get some feedback from people throughout the industry. A common theme is, a lot of the just a lot of the excellence in the Padre organization right now, and a team that that has done a lot of good things over the last 5 or 6 years. And I think for Craig, the familiarity that he has with that process, with our people, that kept coming through for me and for Josh. I mean, he's a guy that has played and been in the locker room with some of our core players and understands what makes them tick. The last couple of years with Schulte and the staff, he saw some really good processes that, he understands things that lead to winning and that he can help continue to grow. Sitting in bi-weekly meetings with our R&D team, every few weeks and getting a different view from the game in terms of, some information that helped us be successful. Sitting in trade discussions and conversations with our front office. I think he has a very clear understanding that what's been very good, there's still another step and what we need to do to be great. So I know nationally it may be a little bit of a surprise in terms of the choice and the selection. But I think for anybody that's been around Craig here in San Diego, familiar with him, and definitely for everybody in this room, I think it was a pretty easy fit. We're super excited to name Craig as the next manager of the Padres.
That was AJ Preller's opening statement from the press conference earlier today, and a lot of different things to unpack from that. I mean, he goes through the story about trying to get Craig Stammen on the team the first time. Andy Green was the closer that never lost the negotiation until they tried to get Craig Stammen. Lost out to Cleveland, which honestly, here's why that's kind of bad. Maybe it works out in the long run because he got to pitch for Ruben Niebla and work with Ruben Niebla as a player over in Cleveland before eventually the final year. I think one of the last years of Craig Stammen was that 2022. That was the first year of Ruben Niebla, if I'm not mistaken, was 2022. So only 1 year here in San Diego he got to pitch for Ruben Niebla, but he had some history with Ruben, and I think that leads to a good relationship and a good working relationship. As Ruben Niebla was at the press conference today, I think that was a good sign of confidence right there. I think a lot of people were worried about that. I know we heard the reports that Ruben Niebla was coming back, but the fact that he was there at the press conference speaks volumes for this working relationship that they're going to have as manager and pitching coach. But it seemed like it was almost a fast decision. I mean, a no-brainer decision for the Padres. They knew what they had in Craig Stammen. They knew that he was going to be a great manager one day, and now they have the opportunity to introduce him as the manager of the San Diego Padres. But I liked a lot of things what AJ Preller had to say today, Frank, especially in that opening statement.
Yeah, and it sounds like that he was their guy. It was, the rest of it kind of felt like a formality, and then like, hey, do you want to maybe go on the other side of the table this time? Like, that's the kind of, it kind of feels like they knew from the start who they wanted to be their guy, and it was just a matter of testing the waters to see if he wanted to do it before saying, yeah, you're here for an interview, just not on this side of the table. It's on the other side today.
That entire story was crazy too.
Yes.
How he was, he was going through the interview process and he was helping interview other candidates. And it was the question of, can I move my family back to San Diego? I mean, we're here in Ohio. I mean, there's a lot that went into the decision process for Craig Stammen to pursue this. I mean, obviously he said this is something that he really wanted to do, but he had to get approval from the family. I mean, there's a lot of you got to hear a lot of the life and the human element to this particular hiring case. I mean, and one of the messages we're going to get to it later on in the show of Craig Stammen talking about, what he wants Padres fans to know and see about him is how he treats his family and how like the love for his family and how he runs his family and how he is as a person, is going to resonate with a lot of the team. I thought it was great seeing a handful of the players there today. Yuki Matsui was there. Joe Musgrove was there. Jason Adam was there, all excited to see the introduction of Craig Stammen as the new manager. I think that's, those are the names that we saw and some of the pictures that we saw of the particular press conference. But I liked everything that AJ Preller had to say about Craig Stammen. And I liked almost everything, if not everything, of what Craig Stammen had to say. And he, they joked around, the media joked around with him a little bit. He was fun, out of the get-go. I thought the vibes were great, out of Petco Park today when talking about the managerial hire and the introductory press conference of Craig Stammen. So we heard from AJ Preller, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Craig Stammen and a lot of the big questions I think Padres fans want answered. We will get those answers from Craig Stammen when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. All guests of 97 through the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crimes since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Do want to mention, so no sports thread today, but it's sponsored by QC Kinetics. We will get back to the sports thread on Wednesday, as we will be off tomorrow. We will be off tomorrow celebrating Veterans Day, and a big thank you to all of you out there that have served in the military and are hopefully taking the day off tomorrow for the sacrifices that you guys have made for all of us, and we really appreciate that here in a military town. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. What we're going to do right now is we're going to hear from Craig Stammen and hear a lot of different clips from Craig Stammen and a lot of questions that are, need to be answered that a lot of fans have had with him being the new manager of the San Diego Padres. What we are going to start with is Craig Stammen's introductory statement after being introduced as the new manager of the Padres.
All right, AJ, thanks for those kind words. Make me sound way better than what even my wife would probably say about me. Obviously a special day for me, special day for my family. I'd like to thank John and Eric and AJ and Josh, part of the decision-making crew in this process of believing in me and allowing me this opportunity to be in a leadership role with the Padres. The Padres have been a big part of my family. They feel like family to me. They've treated me like family since back in 2017, I guess maybe even 2016 when you were trying to recruit me. And I said no the first time, but it's been a yes ever since. And, obviously family's a big part of who I am and what I believe in. Got a lot of my family here today. Audrey, my wife, was a big part of this decision. And without her, this would not have been a yes. And she was all in, excited. Couldn't have been more on my side. So I'm very thankful for her. I'm blessed to have an amazing wife. And then we have 4 beautiful kids that, you guys are going to be right by my side in this whole thing. I can't wait to hug you guys after the games, win or lose. That's probably the most favorite thing I had as a player. And now I get to experience it as a manager also. And then my mom, dad, and brother, big part of my family growing up. You guys raised me. You did a good job, I think. But I'm proud of you guys being my mom and dad and what you guys stand for, and I hope to bring those values to the Padres and make you proud through this entire process. And I think that's what it's about. It's about this organization and about making the fan base, the Friar Faithful, proud of the product that we put on the field and the way that we treat people and the way that we take care of our families. And so I'm excited to start that process, be a leader in that process within the coaching staff and within the clubhouse. And hopefully that leads to us taking this organization to a place that we haven't been yet, but we've set as goals that Peter set as a goal a long time ago. And I'm excited to start that process and get it going.
How do you dislike Craig Stammen? I mean, what a nice, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, if anything, I mean, he showed today that he's just a world-class human being.
Yeah, and somebody you want to root for,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
he's just, he's not like one of those managers that are like, well, this guy's really good at winning games, but he's just like not a likable character. I mean, he might be the most likable manager in all of baseball. One of the most likable people in all of baseball. Talking about his family and everything like that, and his, his kids being right next to his side. I mean, what a great individual. And we talked about it before. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Luis in Eastlake. Luis, what do you got for us today on the Braden Surprenant Show?
Hey, what's up, Braden? How's it going, man? I got 2 things. So, I'm just trying to keep an open mind to Craig Stammen. I was just looking up his stats, and he was he's got great stats. He's got a 10.0 WAR, which is pretty solid. Lifetime 55 and 44 with a 3.66 ERA. So this guy was like a solid, piece of the Padres for a long time, and he's got good stats to back it up. So I think we all got to keep an open mind and just hope for the best for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Luis. And again, I remember when Craig Stammen was first like really with the Padres. Before I was producing shows and before obviously hosting talk shows, I was running the Padre games. And when I was running the Padre games just out of college, I remember Ted Leitner used to say this all the time when Craig Stammen came in. This is the conversation every single time. Craig Stammen, when he came into the game, guaranteed 2 strikeouts. Guaranteed. It was like clockwork. He was going to strike out 2 batters every single time. Ted would say that before every Craig Stammen outing, and you look back, and that's exactly what he did. He had at least 2 punch-outs every single time he came in. Now, that was when he was in his, at the beginning part of his Padres career. You think about near the end of his Padres career. I think a lot of people think about the 4 home runs he gave up in a row and some other things when he's getting older. He had a great major league career. There's not a lot of people on this rock that can say that they have done the things that Craig Stammen has done at the professional level. Really hasn't. I mean, you look at his overall stat. He had a 10 WAR, 55 and 44 record, as Luis mentioned, with a 3.66 ERA, bullpen piece, and put together a great career, not only for the Padres, but for Washington and Cleveland. I mean, he was a great player from 2009 to 2022. He played a 13-year MLB career. And even that's not really what you need too much when it comes to the manager. It doesn't really speak the difference. There's some things that he did mention, though, that we do want to dive into. And when we come back, he answers the harder questions from the media and gives a lot of great answers that a lot of Padres fans want asked. A lot of the questions that they want asked, he answers. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. This holiday season, too many San Diegans will go hungry. Join 97 through the fan and support the San Diego Food Bank. Donate food directly online through our Odyssey San Diego Food Fund, where every donation helps feed local families. Go to 97throughthefansd.com and give today. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Talking a lot about Craig Stammen becoming the manager of the Padres today. We're going to keep you updated on anything we see in free agency as it comes about. And we're going to try to update you on some different moving parts and some rumors. And we're going to do that probably every day around 11 a.m., during the Padres offseason, during the hot stove season. Although the stove is not even really on. Is it even on, Frank? Would you consider the hot stove even on?
It's cranked up to 11 as far as off-field stuff. As far as what we saw yesterday with Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, with non-movements
for
major league teams.
Oh, yeah, no, there's
some
nothing.
crazy baseball stories, but
Yeah.
there's nothing on the free agent market for anybody.
No, but
I thought
it's
at least one
cranked up to 11
I
now.
thought you'd get at least one signing out of the gate.
We have actually. Hold on.
What's our big signing? What's the big signing we've seen?
Hold on. I got to get it back up because I've forgotten who it was now.
The big signing.
The Mets have signed Jose Rojas to a minor league deal.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Out of the gate swinging.
You get a foul. A minor league deal? We're throwing minor league deals out there?
You wanted a deal.
I said there wasn't any.
There
and you said, well, hey, look, we got the minor
guess
league
what?
deal.
You're wrong. You said there wasn't any.
I should have
gave you
specifically
one.
said there's not a major league signing.
I gave you one.
This is the latest rumors out there. Before we get to what Craig Stammen had to say, all from what's today? What's today's? The 10th.
Today's the 10th.
Today's the 10th. All day will be the 10th. Will we see a Schwarber signing soon? According to MLB Network insider John Paul Morosi, we may see perhaps the best power hitter available not last long on the open market. This is the theory that Morosi had today on MLB Network. Quote, my theory is from talking to people around the industry that if we do see one significant bat sign early, that it could be Kyle Schwarber. Here's why. To me, his market is more defined than the other top free agents. There are just more moving parts to some of the other position player free agents. Whereas with Schwarber, it is so clear what his role is. It is so clear what his value to the Phillies is. Morosi thinks Schwarber staying in Philly is the most likely outcome, and the team has said that a reunion with Schwarber is one of its offseason priorities. But coming off a 56-homer season with 187 dingers since the beginning of 2022, there should be plenty of competition for his services. Mark Feinsand of MLB.com sees the Rangers and the Reds as potential fits for Schwarber. A handful of MLB.com contributors recently predicted that he will join the Red Sox, a team he played for in 2021. Does Kyle Schwarber sign soon, Frank?
I think
if you had to pick a free agent to sign early, I kind of agree with Morosi's thinking.
Yeah, probably
to me, he would be
be
the first guy off the board.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A power hitter, it's just a pure DH. Yeah, I would think he's probably would be at or near the top. But again, with everything we're hearing about 2027 and a potential lockout and this and that, it's going to be very, very interesting to see who goes off when and for how much. And I think that kind of will determine how bad this lockout could possibly be. It's going to be an off season like no other for sure.
It's hard to predict the offseason because you don't know if guys are trying to sign to be grandfathered into something. There's no, how much do the players know? What's the rumors behind the scenes? How much are the owners aligned? How much of the players are aligned? Do they think a salary cap is coming? Do they not think a salary cap is coming? Is a salary floor coming? There's a lot of TV deal conversations that need to be had as well. Can they convince a lot of the really really high-level organizations that have these big TV contracts? Can they convince them to, forfeit those to centralize a TV contract like the NFL has? I mean, These are all things that need to be ironed out at the conclusion of 2026 that could impact what happens in this offseason of free agency. Because next year, at the end of the baseball season, if they do decide to lock out, which it sounds like from everything that we've been told, but also the rumors out there around Major League Baseball that it will be the case. I mean, you're not even going to see an offseason, and you might not even see a season. So that makes this offseason even more important for, I think, a lot of teams and also for a lot of players. And so it's hard to really predict what's going to happen because you don't know if it's going to be guys are signing like crazy out the get-go, or do they wait to try to get the perfect deal? Are they waiting until spring training? It's going to be very hard to predict. As of right now, the way things stand and the fact that we haven't heard really any rumblings about a lot of moves out there, and it's been open since Friday, I think that shows that this might be a slower offseason, but we'll see as we got meetings coming up. We got general managers meeting coming up in Vegas. We got ownership meetings coming up. We got the winter meetings at the beginning of December. There's a lot to still get to, but if we get through a lot of those meetings and we don't see a lot of moves happening, it might be a very slow offseason in Major League Baseball.
And you also have the reports from Bob Nightingale saying that MLB has privately told owners that teams lost $1.8 billion combined last year. So I would have to think that, yeah, the owners are going to try to stick to their number, which means there's not going to be too much negotiating going on before the CBA, which means I think, yeah, it's going to be a painfully slow offseason.
They went on to say that the Mets lost how much money on their own?
The Mets led with $350 million in losses.
See, like that's the whole conversation about like any team could do what the Dodgers do. I mean, Cohen could do that if he just wants to give money away.
They lost they lost their entire salary cap. They lost their entire salary. What they paid in salary this year is how much they
Cohen's
lost.
put a bunch of his, money into the team. Right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is like he could do that, theoretically could do that. But the problem is in Major League Baseball, like even though Cohen, it's not really affecting his lifestyle. Him losing $300-something million.
No, he's the
richest owner in professional sports. But here's where I'm getting with this. Major League Baseball, though, as a whole entity, does care about their teams losing money. Mm-hmm. They don't want owners to just hemorrhage money because there's a lot of ownership groups that need this team to make money. Again, it's a business. And so the fact that they're losing money, it's the same. Remember the Padres were, I wouldn't say in trouble with Major League Baseball, but remember Major League Baseball was like, hey, you guys got to cut your spending because we got to get you back on track.
Mm-hmm.
They were spending a lot, Seidler family spending a lot of money because they wanted to get good players here and they wanted to win. But Major League Baseball comes to a point and they go like, hey, look, we need our teams to be thriving right now, not losing money. And so if they got the richest owner in baseball and his team is losing money on top of everybody else losing or whoever's losing money, again, they don't open the books, so nobody's going to know for sure. That's a massive problem for Major League Baseball.
But almost $2 billion combined between all 30 organizations. That is a huge loss.
And this is coming out. This is strategic play.
Oh, of course.
It's coming out. And this usually comes out before negotiations. But again, like how is that going to affect the offseason market? It's going to be interesting. The other thing that we got to, and we're going to get to the we don't, and we're not doing the midday sports standoff today. But if you take me down to sports trivia sometime this week or this next month, we'll try to do this again on Wednesday. We're off Tuesday. Sammy Hagar returns to Las Vegas with his best of all worlds Las Vegas residency. Get ready to rock with your favorite hits from the Van Halen years, Sammy solo hits, and more. Only in Las Vegas this March 11th to the 21st and September 18th to the 26th at Dolby Live at Park MGM. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Here's the other two things that I wanted to get to in terms of free agent talk, because we're not going to be able to talk about it tomorrow. And by the time we roll into Wednesday, there'll probably be more information. Are the Astros the favorite to sign Dylan Cease? Astros have a Framber Valdez size void in their starting rotation, but they might not fill it by simply re-signing the left-hander who has been a two-time All-Star for Houston. Instead, the Astros may go after a free agent pitcher whom they reportedly worked hard to acquire before the 2025 trade deadline, Dylan Cease. MLB Network insider John Paul Morosi said during Monday's edition of Hot Stove that Cease joining the Astros, quote, probably has as much of a chance of happening as any other free agent prediction out there. Cease will turn 30 next month, produced a 4.55 ERA this season, but he has made at least 32 starts and has racked up more than 200 strikeouts every season. Since 2021, he led all qualified pitchers in 2025 with 11.5 strikeout per 9. Interesting stuff. If I got to see San Diego Padres pitchers leave, send them to the American League. Sounds good to me. You know what? Because I don't want to see some resurrection Dylan Cease on the Dodgers or like on the Giants or somewhere else. It just I don't want to see it. I don't think it'd be. I think I don't think the Padres should sign Dylan Cease for how much money he's going to cost. But that being said, I don't need to see him do super well against the Padres and make it hurt even more. Last thing that was kind of rumored. General manager meetings begin Monday in Las Vegas, today in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Hot Stove should start to heat up this week, as reported by MLB Network, who talks about their show Hot Stove as well. Their first show of the day is Hot Stove. Maybe they're talking about their show. Even if we don't see a bevy of free agent signings, there will be likely plenty of rumors and information to glean from regarding some of the best players in this year's class. Kyle Tucker is at the head of that class, and many clubs will make their best pitch to the 28-year-old outfielder. And right now, the favorites, general managers mentioned 3 teams to USA Today's Bob Nightingale. And he had a lot of interesting stuff in his article today. The Dodgers, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. However, multiple team executives also told The Athletic that one under-the-radar team to keep an eye on for Kyle Tucker are the Baltimore Orioles. Do you see a situation which the Baltimore Orioles now all of a sudden decide to spend money on players when they have a bunch of young, great players and they need pitching, Frank?
God, no.
No, I don't see that at all. If they're going to spend the money they need to spend to get Kyle Tucker, why wouldn't they invest that money in the starting pitching? Why would they not invest that money in pitching in general? I don't understand what the Orioles are trying to accomplish. They have all these young prospects. They have all of these young players that are part of the organization that they've held on to. And the thing that's killed them the last year and really the last 2 years has been starting pitching and bullpen pitching. I can't imagine them wasting a bunch of money on Kyle Tucker. To me, they would be the Angels, Frank. They would turn into the Angels in that particular sense.
No, absolutely. It's the worrying thing to me was seeing somebody, I think it may have been Nightingale, tweet today that the Dodgers have $90 million coming off the books this offseason. Yes. So to even consider him possibly Tucker going to LA that's just cringeworthy. Not just here in Friarville, but also just around Major League Baseball. It would almost guarantee a lockout, I think.
Well, here's the deal. And here's the deal with the Dodgers in general is the Los Angeles Dodgers probably understand that something is changing soon. Correct?
Yeah.
Something is changing soon. So if I'm the Dodgers and I have all these resources, I have all this money, and I got all this deferred money to Shohei Ohtani, and I've did everything I needed to do. Knowing that something is changing, I would imagine, based on the fact that it's contracts and you're dealing with a players association, that most of the stuff is going to be grandfathered in. If I'm the Dodgers, I'm doubling down on this strategy, and I am trying to get as much free agents. I'm trying to get as many of these guys as humanly possible and getting them locked under contract for a long time.
I also don't know because, again, you can't give these guys money and take it away.
They're never going to do that. The players will lock out forever.
So you're going to have to, if you go with a cap, you're going to have to grandfather these contracts in, which means you're going to have 2 separate caps. You're going to have the new salary cap and then the pre-era cap. So you're going to have to figure out how those work. and what the penalty is for being over the pre-cap era salary limit. I think that's it. I think the fines for that could also play a factor into that as well.
I don't know. I don't.
There's going to be a generation of player where you're going to have two different salary caps. You're going to have the pre-cap era salary cap and then the salary cap.
I think they're going to grandfather a lot of stuff in. I don't think it's fair to the organizations that have spent money that they got to like get levied with fines and stuff with this new thing. They'll never sign off on that anyway.
Well, I mean, they're getting fines now.
I know, but they're not going to add it because these decisions were all made before the new rules. So they're not going to add a bunch of different things.
I mean, unless you take the salary cap as it sits now with the fines the way it is and just transfer that over into the salary cap era.
I bet you they're going to grandfather a lot of these deals in. And what's going to happen is there's going to be whatever you have under the books is not going to count. They'll have like a new cap and floor that you have to abide by, or maybe they'll rearrange some of those contracts that they have in terms of like what counts and what doesn't. Maybe a certain percentage of said contracts count towards the new cap. There's a lot of ways to figure that out. But again, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm loading up on all these contracts. They're not going to get like super punished by everybody else in this particular deal. There's too many things that they're all have to agree on in this thing. So if I'm the Dodgers, yeah, I'm gonna go get Kyle Tucker. I'm gonna go get as many of these guys as I possibly can. And they're the only organization that's gonna be able to get like guys that do deferred money. They are.
Braden, it never fails. Joe Yo in the chat. Brother, we've been talking about Craig Stammen and the press conference all day.
For 3 hours and 51 minutes.
You tuned into the one segment that we haven't talked about it and are acting as if we've ignored it all day long. It never fails.
Right. We're keeping it baseball related. I mean, I'd love to talk about football all day today, but this is the trending topic right now is Padres baseball. I mean, we've been talking about this for ad nauseum the entire day. I almost feel like some people just kind of wait. And as soon as you mention something that's not what it is, it's just like, I can't believe you're not talking about this.
It's
got to be a troll. It's got to be fake. There's no way it's real. There's no way it's real.
I hope it is.
No way it's real. And I will say this, and boo this man, Cole Brooks. Yeah, because there's a lot of baseball people here, and our show and our station is definitely directed towards baseball fans. But I will not sit there and stand and say like the people of San Diego don't care about other sports, because they do. I mean, because they do. To say that nobody cares about the NFL in San Diego is a joke. I mean, most people I know care more about the NFL than a lot of different things, even if they don't have a team here. So, and there's a lot of people that care about the NBA. Tony Witt Jr. and Chris Ellett, the next show loves the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people in this town that love sports. There's 3 million people in this county. You can't tell me that nobody here cares about, like, nobody here only care, like, nobody here cares about the NFL and the NBA anymore. I never had an NBA team, so like I've never had something to really go off of. I love college basketball. I love college football. I mean, I watch the NFL every single Sunday. That's why I have Red Zone. I play fantasy football. I mean, there's a lot of other sports out there, but the argument in the chat today is hilarious about like nobody cares about those sports except for like we only care about baseball. And then you got the football people like, I can't believe it's a time and a place for all these things. Like Wednesday show is going to be a lot of football.
I think this one just came down, I believe, from our company. It has just been announced that John and Tammy, the morning show over at KSON, have been nominated for the Country Radio Hall of Fame considerations.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Is the ultimate honor for a radio show in the country music industry. So congratulations. Again, they're not in the Country Radio Hall of Fame, but they have been nominated for consideration too.
That's great news.
I wouldn't have, unless it was for something else, I would not have broken in for that. But that's properly big news. Congratulations, John and Tammy.
That's awesome. The morning show at KSON, our sister station here in the Odyssey Palace. Yeah, again, there's people like KG out there that don't care about anything but baseball. That's fine. But like, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. I mean, today was always going to be the Craig Stammen introductory press conference day,
which we'll get back to.
We're going to get back to and
after
hear
this
from
break.
him. That's correct. We're going to get back to him, and when we come back, and again, Wednesday's going to be a lot of football. I got a lot to talk about football. We're going to be I mean, I need a podcast for TCU football. How upset I was with that performance of the weekend. Fire everybody. Let's get to the 1 o'clock hour. Hear from Craig Stammen. Finish up the show. 1 o'clock on the Braden Surprenant show. What is going on?
You don't like Gordon Lightfoot?
I don't know what that is.
You don't like the Edmund Fitzgerald?
No. What can you explain to me what you just played? I was like, this isn't one of our rotating songs.
Gordon Lightfoot, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It was a freighter on the Great Lakes that sank on this day 50 years ago. It is the Titanic of the Great Lakes.
I have never heard of that
said.
story ever.
Yes.
That's crazy. Wow. What just sparked you to do that right now? Were you just reminded of it?
I have a certain level of artistic ability.
Ability, yeah.
That reminded me of it last night, and it wasn't last night, it was last week, and I've been planning on that all week.
All right. That was that.
Yep.
No, I don't know who Gordon. I mean, I've kind of heard of that name before. I couldn't tell you what it is. Nice pull, Frank.
The singer.
I can assume that. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Do want to say again, big congratulations. John and Tammy nominated for the Country Radio Hall of Fame consideration. Ultimate honor for a radio show in the country music industry. Congratulations to John and Tammy. Hopefully they make it in.
So.
And as laid out in some of the email changes, they are not already in it?
No. Unfortunately not.
Apparently not. Well, hopefully they're going to be in it very, very shortly. All right, we got a lot to get to in this last hour as we continue the coverage of what was the introductory press conference of Craig Stammen becoming the Padres manager. We're going to talk a lot more football later on Wednesday's show. We are off tomorrow for Veterans Day. Again, a big thanks to everybody that has served in the military. Tomorrow is for you, and we appreciate all the sacrifices that you have made. But before we talk more about and hear from Craig Stammen, we have to announce today's biggest fan.
Yes.
Today's biggest fan. Do we have a drum roll thing or no? I'm sure there's someone in there.
Yeah, hold on. I got
today's biggest fan is...
oh God, I could see it in here. I just don't know where it is. I know it's here. I know. There it is.
Today's biggest fan. You have 10 minutes to call in and be qualified for the biggest fan contest. Natasha Guerra in Oceanside. Natasha Guerra in Oceanside. Guerra. You have 10 minutes to give us a call. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Natasha Guerra in Oceanside. You are today's biggest fan. If she calls in the next 10 minutes, she will be qualified for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. Register your name at 97 through the fan, sd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. Natasha Guerra, you are today's biggest fan. I'm going to put it in the chat, try to increase our odds here. Natasha Guerra of Oceanside.
We've only had one person not call in, so our show at least.
So let's keep it up.
So Natasha, no pressure.
You got 10 minutes, Natasha. You're today's biggest fan. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Bang!
Hold on.
The caller ID might be true. We might have gotten ourselves another one, Frank, which would be great. So Frank's dealing with that. And it sounds like we do have our biggest fan. She called in. Congratulations to Natasha. Love it. Round of applause, Frank.
Absolutely. There it is.
Did Ben and Woods get theirs today?
Let me see now. I gotta say that we got ours. Did Ben and Woods get theirs today? The answer is yes, they did.
Nice.
I'm gonna have to send an email.
Oh no.
No, it's nothing we did wrong. It's just that there are winners to qualify for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we need to send an email about that. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to get to some more sound from Craig Stammen and a lot of questions that he had answered today from the media. A couple other things in the weekend that I want to get to on Wednesday. Anaheim Ducks are legit. How many they won in a row? Like 7 or 8? 10? 10? I think 10 in a row.
Let's calm down a little bit here. Huh?
They've been on a roll. The Anaheim Ducks. They won again last night, and they got a big game tomorrow against Colorado, the top two teams in the Western Conference going at it. That's good news. The other thing, has anybody seen?
I got another drop that I need to make now.
Nice.
Forgot about that.
Yes. It's Ben Afquack. If anybody hasn't seen this yet, for anybody that's an Anaheim Ducks fan, which is the parent club of the San Diego Gulls, so we like the Ducks here. When they win games, they post a duck paddling on a drum. His name is Ben Afquack, is I guess one of the Ducks mascots, and they have a video of him beating a drum, and that's the noise it was.
Yep, that's there.
This is his. Yes, duck feet on drums. And they've been posting that a lot. Let me tell you.
We are just the dumbest smart people in the known world. Their last 7, jeez. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Their last 8 posts are Ben Afquack.
They've won 7 straight games. They're 9-1 of their last 10. They currently lead the Pacific Division in the first 15 games played with 23 points. They're 11-3 and 1 overtime loss, and they are the second best team in the Western Conference. They will play the best team in the Western Conference in Colorado coming up tomorrow. Interesting, fun stuff. Anaheim Ducks hockey might be back. They're a fun and exciting team to watch. They just continue to pepper the net all day long. So there we go. That's your Ducks thing. Now, here's the other deal. Anybody see the story about UCLA and what UCLA is doing?
Yeah, didn't we have a thing on that a couple weeks ago?
We did. We were like, hey, Pasadena is going to sue UCLA for a breach of contract because they had heard that UCLA is trying to move their games out of the Rose Bowl to SoFi Stadium. They're under contract to play in Pasadena until 2044. And then it came out over the weekend that it's almost a done deal that UCLA is going to play their games at SoFi Stadium starting in 2026. That's not official yet, but it's almost a done deal according to the report that we saw over the weekend. And in doing so, to get out of the contract, they have to pay $80 million to the Rose Bowl and the city of Pasadena to get out of the contract. That's before the city of Pasadena will sue their ass for everything, for leaving, and what could be, as laid out in the article that we read, up to $1 billion in damages of money lost for that area and the stadium of hosting UCLA football games from 2026 through 2044. And they're doing that. Listen, they're doing that, and they're okay with that. For a athletic department that's redlining, that is a massive hole, they're going to spend $80 million to leave the Rose Bowl, to go to SoFi, to be the third tenant of SoFi Stadium. All for, you ready for this, Frank? They have more suites, and they think they're going to sell out the luxury suites for UCLA football. Are you kidding me? How is that? I mean, how does that athletic department, when this becomes a catastrophic nightmare for UCLA athletics, not just football, I mean, that's just going to kill their athletic department. Everybody's just going to be fired. They should be fired for just doing that. Just even considering that move. They're like, well, it's closer. An off-campus stadium is still an off-campus stadium. The kids aren't going to go. It's a lifeless facility. You've ever been to SoFi Stadium?
I have not, no.
It's blah. It's okay. The scoreboard's cool. Aside from that, it's like, it's just like a stadium. It's not great. And so you're going to leave what could be the most iconic stadium in college football to go to a corporate lifeless SoFi Stadium to be third fiddle behind the Rams and the Chargers in terms of tenant. And you're going to pay $80 million to do that because you think you're going to like sell out the suites there? And that's going to overcome all of the money? By the way, you're pissing off all of your fan base and all of your... I mean, what a joke. Everybody I talk to that is a UCLA fan or a UCLA alumni or a UCLA season ticket holder is beyond pissed off. Beyond pissed off. I can't believe it. There's a couple people in there that are like, oh, well, like, I guess, SoFi's kind of cool. That's going to be great for teams visiting. When Nebraska shows up and takes over the stadium, they're like, hey, look, we can go watch the game at SoFi. Terrible. Can't believe it. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we come back, we're going to hear from Craig Stammen. We're going to hear what he had to say, answering a lot of questions from the media, and answering a lot of questions that a lot of the fans had about Craig Stammen, about his lack of experience and how he thinks he's going to navigate that, how he's going to handle a bullpen. And another big question of, he was on the team with a lot of these guys in the past. How does he go from being a teammate to being a manager? We're going to talk about that. We're going to hear from Craig when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All guests on 97 through the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorney, is helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. We want to get to your phone calls today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, talking about the new Padres manager, Craig Stammen. He got introduced today in the introductory press conference. We had interviews with him. We're going to play some of those later on with Tony Gwynn Jr. interviewing Craig Stammen and AJ Preller about the hiring of Craig Stammen. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but we do want to get to your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get to Emmanuel in Chula Vista. Emmanuel, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Nothing much. What do you got for us today?
Oh, first off, I want to give a shout out to Frank Marchese. We actually went to elementary school together, brother. Glad to see you're doing well. Let me get to it. This Craig Stammen hiring, guys, I'm not feeling it at all. I feel like it's the Chargers' AJ Smith all over again. He wants a yes man. He gets rid of Marty Schottenheimer after the really successful season. Then he brings in Norv Turner. Now we're doing it all over again. Love Craig Stammen. Great dude. Awesome guy. But I don't know if it translates to a manager position. I don't know. I don't know if the guys are going to see him as that managerial role, or they're just going to see him as another one of the teammates, another one of the guys. You guys tell me.
Well, Emmanuel, I appreciate the phone call. Frank's reaction was great. What?
Yeah, no, I know exactly who it is, though.
That's great.
I know exactly who that is.
I don't think he is the, yes man hire a lot of people say he is. I think at the end of the day, he was the guy that was probably the right man for the job, and we're gonna find out. I mean, I liked his press conference today. I thought he did a good job during the press conference. I think there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Padres fan. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get to Johnny in San Diego. Johnny, what's going on, man?
I think he's a perfect hire. I wanted something like this. I didn't want Albert Pujols or Ruben Niebla to take on way more than he needed to take on. This is perfect. Just someone to bear the load. Just a figurehead, really.
Yeah, and I think that's a good comment right there about Craig Stammen. I mean, I think with some of the other candidates, there was a lot of other question marks. There was question marks a lot of these guys. And again, I mentioned last week, I said, you got to see what he's got to say at the press conference and then give me your opinion. And we got the press conference today. And you know what? I think we're going to get to what he had to say today right now in a second. I don't know if you are getting not
yet. I'm still it's what he needed to do was done. So okay, now I'm free again.
Free reign control the computer. Love it. All right, here's some things that Craig Stammen answered that I think a lot of fans were asking the question of. And a lot of people in the YouTube chat were asking the question of these, and I think a lot of people had these questions. And so the media did a good job of asking them. But it starts with, what the process was like for Craig Stammen to get hired. I mean, that was an interesting process that we got in terms of reporting on this. And this is what Craig Stammen had to say about becoming the Padres manager and what the process was like.
Yeah, the process was AJ was very coy about it in the beginning. And I think he's been very understanding of my family situation, how important they are in this process. And even that was a big part of being a special assistant the last couple of years, him understanding that situation. And so he was always like probing a little bit, like, would you like to do more? Would you like to be in part of the front office a little bit more? Would you like to be, have a little bit more? Would you like to be a part of the coaching staff? And so I always knew, and he's articulated that to me, several times of what he thinks of me and how he thought I could be successful in some of the leadership roles within the team. So he was very coy about it at the beginning, and then we kind of got through the interview process a little bit at the beginning of it. And then he put the sales kibosh on me and said, I really want you to be a part of this process. I want you to think about being the manager of the Padres. And, my immediate thoughts are to my family. And like, we can't make that happen. We can't move them out of school and move them from Ohio to California. And yeah, I would love to do this. In my core, it's like, yes, I'm 100% in. But there's a lot that goes into making that decision. And so that started the process Audrey and I had a lot of conversations. We prayed a lot. We fasted about it. We kept having conversations with people that we care about and know that can give us good advice. And then AJ's part of that too. He's pumping me up and telling me, continuing to believe in me and show that belief, him and Josh, a belief that, like, honestly, if they didn't have that strong of a belief, I probably would have not gone down the path as strongly as we did. And eventually it got to the point where it was a yes for us. We made some family decisions to make that happen. And then once we made that decision, it was like there was a peace and a joy that came with it and an opportunity that there's no way that I could say no to. And that's, where we said yes. And luckily enough and thankful enough that it was offered the job. And here we are today, ready to, make something happen.
This is a fascinating process of him getting hired, but you hear about it, just, Craig Stammen and, deciding with his family and getting this process. And, it's kind of weird how things happen like that in life. It just kind of happens very quickly sometimes. So that was the process of how Craig Stammen got hired. Now let's move on to some of the other things that we wanted to talk about. And again, it's like managing old teammates. I think that's a major concern for a lot of fans. Like, how do you go from being these guys' teammates to then, like, being the boss, if you will? Like, is he going to be able to get the most out of them? Are they going to listen to him since he was a former teammate? It always kind of makes an awkward little transition. But here's what Craig Stammen had to say about that particular question.
Yeah, I kind of view this as just an extension of my time with the Padres. And I've been in a lot of different roles throughout that time of being kind of a mop-up guy and then being pitching in leverage and then being the old guy on the team and not being very good. Sorry, Ruben, for not being very good that last year. Ruben's been a coach of mine 2016 when I was with the Guardians, and then my last year playing with the Padres, and I've been hurt and injured both years. So this is my opportunity to show Ruben that I'm not hurt and I'm not injured. But to me, that's the most exciting part about the job is I have real relationships with all these guys. And we've done some things together. Like we've had a lot of shared experiences of good things and bad things. And I'm going to lean on those guys and those experiences to make this Padres team great. And the Friar Faith will be proud of us.
I think having a guy like Ruben right there as his right-hand man, I think it's great. I think him being there is awesome too. Talk about the guy that Ruben Niebla is, for a second. That's been passed up for the managerial job a couple of times now. And they give the job to Craig Stammen, and Ruben's right there, and he stays on the staff, first of all, which is very important for the Padres, and then he's there at the press conference. Talk about a guy that's put the organization first since coming over here. What a great man Ruben Niebla is. It's a great coaching staff that they are putting together for this Padres team, and what he could be proud of. So those are some of the questions. Like, how is he going to be able to manage old teammates? The other one's going to be like, how are you going to go about this without any managerial experience? Now, every candidate that we have been aware of wasn't going to have any managerial experience. What does Craig Stammen have to say about how is he going to go about this thing with no managerial experience?
Yeah, it'll be a challenge for sure. I got a big learning curve ahead of me. That'll be something that I'm going to really put a lot of work in this offseason. A lot of conversation with AJ, Josh, a lot of the other coaching staff. But also part of that, I've got some guys in my corner already that are on staff like Ruben that have tons of coaching experience, been in the dugout for playoff games, been in the dugout for long seasons. And so I'm going to rely on a lot of people in the organization. The best part about this Padres organization is the people that we have and how great they are at all of their jobs. And I'm going to rely on all those people. This isn't a one-man Craig Stammen show. I'm part of the, hopefully the part of the process of putting a winning ball club on the field, but I'm going to rely on a lot of people to, have my back and create processes that, lead us to championship.
Craig Stammen at the introductory press conference. We're going to get to one more clip here, and it's going to be about in-game decisions. And then, we're going to hear what AJ Preller had to say about this as he sat down one-on-one with Tony Gwynn Jr. to kind of finish up the show and really put a bow on this particular day of excitement for Craig Stammen being the new manager of the San Diego Padres. Here's what he had to say about making in-game decisions and how that process is going to go about.
Yeah, one of the advantages of being a relief pitcher and viewing the game from that lens is you're always monitoring when the pitching changes are coming, and especially in the role that I had I had to be ready from pitch one to the end of the game. And look at my career, all the seasons I probably pitched in every inning of the game in all of those seasons. And so viewing it from that lens, constantly watching the game, constantly watching the starting pitcher, having an idea of how the manager manages the game, and how he likes to deploy his bullpen. Have an advantage in that realm. And I also have Ruben too. Like, he's been doing that the last few years. So I think we're going to be a lethal combo, when we're talking about pitching decisions and who to bring in and when to bring them in and how often to bring them in. As far as the in-game, decisions, I'm going to build a coaching staff around me that's going to have my back. I'm going to rely on them a lot. And I'm going to learn the game along the way. There will be some hiccups. Like, I'm not going to be perfect. I am not a perfect person, nor am I a perfect manager, and that's okay. But we're going to figure it out as we go. I'm going to learn, I'm going to gain some experience, and I'm going to put all I've got into it, to be the best that we can be.
That's Craig Stammen talking about this decision process. I think it's set up perfectly for, great side of the bullpen. I want to know more about what his coaching staff's going to be like, and hopefully we'll get some more information on that over the next couple of weeks or so as they start building the staff together and doing a lot of off-season moves that they have to make. When we come back, we'll hear from A.J. Preller. He sat down with Tony Gwynn Jr. to talk about this particular discussion and the decision to hire Craig Stammen and what he brings to this team. We'll play that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station, 97 to the Fan. $1:35 on the Braden Surprenant Show on a Monday, off and running for the week. We're going to talk a lot of football coming up on Wednesday. Today, a lot about the introductory press conference of Craig Stammen. All guests on 97 to the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys, helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. From earlier today, there's a couple things that I do want to get to one thing that AJ Preller mentioned in the press conference, Frank, that fifth clip that we have. We're going to play that, and then we're going to hear what AJ Preller said with Tony Gwynn Jr. as he sat down after the press conference and went one-on-one with Tony. But AJ Preller was asked during the press conference today as they introduced Craig Stammen as the new manager of the San Diego Padres, what stood out about Craig in the process, and here's what AJ had to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of different directions we could have gone in, and I think in talking, there's only one manager and one decision, so it was a strong candidate pool. John, Eric, myself, Josh felt really good about the group that we were talking to. I think for Craig, again, I think in terms of him having the ability to fit with that he mentioned that with our players and the belief that he has and the knowledge that he has, of our specific group, having played with them, having, coached around them, having, seen them from different lens point of view, that was definitely something that we talked a lot about. We think we have a competitive team that can win, and, we want to hit the ground running. So I think the fact that he's been in some different chairs in this organization, some different seats, I think was important. He has real knowledge of our players and our system and our process. And it comes down to the individual. I mean, I think what we just talked about in terms of the leadership category, the leadership qualities that Craig has. In fact, he's very intelligent. He's smart. He's super prepared. He's going to go about that in this job, the same way he went about it as a player. And for John, myself, Eric, we had a lot of confidence in that because we've seen that every day for the last decade, basically. Craig's been part of the Padres.
Yeah, the fact that he's been part of the Padres and have had a lot of different roles, I think, is a big factor here. I think it's a big step in the right direction for the Padres. I think it keeps a lot of things consistent. I mean, when you had this opportunity present itself, it wasn't that Mike Schilt was fired or it was a disagreement. He goes out and retires. It's not like they wanted to change a lot from what they were already doing. This Padres team has gone to the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years and 4 out of the last 6. And you want to try to keep it as close to that as possible. I mean, you actually want to continue to do the same things because you're having success. And then you just got to get to the postseason, right? And then in there, it's kind of a crapshoot. And there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. I mean, I'm curious to see how this coaching staff gets put together. We know about Ruben Niebla and apparently Ben Fritz going to be part of this organization. So the pitching side of things, I think, is going to be locked in and intact. I'm curious to see where they go in the direction of a hitting coach. And Ruben Niebla is going to be the pitching coach, but where are they going to go with the bench coach? I mean, there's a lot of different hires that need to be made over the course of the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure they're going to start working on that as soon as possible. Start doing interviews, and Craig's going to put together a staff that's going to back him and be right there for him every step of the way. And as Craig Stammen mentioned, I mean, he's going to have to figure out a lot of this stuff, by getting his, thrown to the fire early. He doesn't have any managerial experience. But who he hires and the staff that he brings in, I think, is going to be a major factor to the success of the San Diego Padres, because those are the people that Craig is going to have to rely on as we get through a Major League Baseball season, as he goes about spring training for the first time, as they put plans together for roster decisions and how they want to make this team. And so he's been part of that as a special assistant to AJ Preller over the last couple of years. But it's going to be interesting to see the staff that they put together. And it's going to be interesting to see how the free agent market works out. Again, general manager meetings start today in Las Vegas. So I'm sure AJ Preller is on his way there right now as he gets to the general manager meetings. I'm sure we'll get a lot of more information coming out from Las Vegas with potential trade rumors and free agent signings around Major League Baseball. I'm sure a lot of them will impact the San Diego Padres, but you got the manager now. The next step is to put the coaching staff together and start piecing together a team for 2026 that needs an improved roster when it comes to their starting pitching. They need to be able to add some slug, and the bullpen is still in a pretty good shape, but I'm sure they could add a bullpen arm here or there. So a lot to build off of when it comes to this, but it's time to get to work. Now, this is from earlier today. We wanted to go back and play it, but the process, how this came about, AJ Preller speaking about Craig Stammen, and also some like what's next after the hiring of Craig Stammen as he joined Tony Gwynn Jr. after the press conference earlier today. We're going to play that for you right now.
I'm sitting across from the head honcho, AJ Preller, and once again he has zigged when everybody else was zagging. AJ, congratulations on the new hire. How are you?
Good, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Craig Stammen, been in the organization since 17, but with you since end of 23. And the one thing I've noticed about you in my time here is that often when you hire somebody, there's a reason behind it. You aren't just bringing somebody into your circle without good reason. And we fast forward to the day Craig Stammen's your manager. How did you massage this? Because having talked to Craig personally, I know family was a big deal for him. Getting him to commit to being a manager with his family that lived in Ohio. How did you decide, or what way did you go about trying to massage that and get Craig to kind of maybe see that he could fit there?
I think just going kind of step by step and like just being truthful. I mean, Craig's a super genuine person, and I think, he's somebody that, he's a very straight shooter and honest person. So, I think when we started the process, after Schulte's announcement, we started with a long, large group of candidates, and basically, went to Craig and some others internally in the organization that, that we think highly of, and just said, hey, would you want to be considered for this? And, as we went through the couple-week process, for Craig, it was really just talking like step by step about what his questions or concerns were, explaining to him that we thought he'd be a strong candidate for the job. We also had some other really good candidates. Yeah. So, we just went kind of step by step. Initially, he was, at a spot where he just said, I don't think family-wise, I'm not sure if this is the next step for me. But kind of as we got through that first round of interviews, he came back and said, I've had a chance to talk to Audrey. Let's at least talk about what this would look like. So, it was an ability to just talk honestly. I think to me it was, again, I don't think we have to sell anything with the Padres. I think it's just more about this is what it's going to be. These are the questions. The organization well. And I think because of that, maybe it just led them to kind of start seeing, okay, like, this is a good step for our family. And this is something that I think baseball-wise, he always wanted to do it, but right. I think when he got some of the family questions about, what that meant for them to be in that chair, I think he started getting more and more comfortable with it. And he came back to us after the first round and said, look, if you guys want to consider me, like I'm in. Like this isn't something where I'm kind of half in, half out. Like I'd be in with my family. And then we were able to interview him and then kind of start the process with him and get to the next round with the different candidates.
Now, Stamp said that you were coy in the beginning, but the way you explained that would indicate that from the very beginning he was at least notified, hey, we kind of want you to do this.
Yeah, no, he'll say some of the things, and like again, like I think for us, like we were pretty, because we were getting into that interview process. I know some people have said, hey, is it weird that somebody was in the first round of interviews then became, a candidate? I don't think so, because it's not just Craig. Like you mentioned, we've had there's a few managers that are out there and a lot of people in the game. that have been in that kind of special assistant role, and they're in there because they've got great takes. And myself, Josh, we rely on that group. So a decision like making an important decision about the manager, Craig was going to be a part of that. But, getting into that spot about, hey, if you're, a couple other candidates that we talked to as well, they were comfortable at first sitting out and then eventually jumping in.
Right.
Because, you don't kind of want to cross that line either. So
As you started to go to the process, and you obviously knew what you liked about Stam, what was it about the things that he brings to the table that intrigued you of him being a manager?
I think, first of all, you saw it today, he's just very genuine. He's very comfortable in his own skin. I think the same guy that you're going to see, whether we win 2 World Series or, we have a 3-game losing streak, I think you're going to get that same person. He's very familiar with our team and our organization. I think we viewed it as a positive that he's played with, and, like he mentioned, he's been on the plane, he's playing cards with the group. But he also has a backbone. He's not somebody that, at the end of the day is just going to be about being buddy with somebody. He understands that he's very competitive and he's an elite competitor. So, and I think too, like that role that Schulte put together in terms of Craig, AJ Ellis, Alan Craig, they were in uniform and they were kind of an extension of the coaching staff, working with our players, going down for the minor leagues and working with players, and then being part of our big league group. So, it wasn't necessarily he was in, khakis and a polo shirt or basketball shorts and a t-shirt, but, he was, he was in uni with the group as an extension, just getting a different perspective and kind of seeing it from the coaching staff standpoint, the manager standpoint, learning from that group. I thought all of that, all those unique experiences for him, what he's like as an individual, what he's like as a player, and what he's taken on the last couple of years. And he didn't just, it wasn't like, hey, he was bouncing in like, hey, once each half or whatever. I mean, he was, he was seeing 40, 50 games live in person around the team, spring training the entire time, involved in all of our meetings with Schulte and the group before and after games, sitting in Schulte's office till late at night. I think all those things prepare him for the job.
You mentioned backbone. There's this idea that somehow Craig can be a yes man to you. How much do you want different opinions and have created an environment where there is debate on certain issues and things and how you see the team?
Yeah, that's our environment. It's like if you can work in that environment where, again, you're going to throw a topic out there and best idea wins, and it can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to come. A lot of the good ideas we've had doesn't have to be from the general manager or from the assistant general manager. We've got a great organization. We've got people that have been in their jobs for a long time and are really good at what they do. And, I've seen Craig and he's seen us, like he mentioned, kind of having a different seat the last 3 years. He's seen how that works. That's just leadership. Like the best people are comfortable in their skin. They're able to get different takes and opinions. They're able to use that information. But then ultimately we give a lot of leeway to our manager to make the decisions. We're not the group that's, hey, this is the lineup simulator and go run this.
Right.
But it's also like, hey, here's the different pieces of information that you need, from R&D, from our coaching staff, from our players, from the front office to go make informed decisions. And then like any leader, like I expect him to make those calls, and, again, I said, like we saw it as a player, like he had, to sit there with Ron and Peter and Ron dug in on some different things
about his business. So a lot of the things that he did, I'm going to probably keep doing the same thing. What I think I can add is maybe just I'm a little younger. I got a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
I've got some relationship.
Well, we had the interview cut off a little bit there from AJ Preller and
I don't know what that was.
Tony Gwynn Jr. So all of a sudden it goes over to Craig Stammen just talking randomly. So that was odd. But Tony Gwynn Jr., sat down with AJ Preller. He sat down with Craig Stammen earlier today, and a lot of good things to pull out of this press conference today, Frank. And I feel like this team is where they're at right now, and the managerial hire that they have. I mean, based on the press conference today, I'm looking forward to seeing what this coaching staff is going to look like, and that's kind of the next step with off-season production. But good to see some players there for Craig Stammen. It was good to see that Ruben Niebla was there, but I'm really curious to see what this coaching staff's going to bring, because he talked about how he's going to go bring in some guys that are going to have his back and be there for him, and he's going to lean on these guys, and I think that helps out with this hire for Craig Stammen if he's able to surround himself with a lot of good baseball people.
Yeah, you're going to have to rely on your coaching staff and who your coaches are, especially if you're a first-year manager. They have a little bit more collective experience, and as the saying goes, the smartest guy in the room is the person that knows he's not the smartest guy in the room. So to be able to get a group of guys together that he can trust, that he knows are looking out for his best interests as well as the team's best interests, to all pull the rope in the direction that he wants them to pull him in, I think that's going to be key. And then after that, it's going to be, who do you get to fill out this roster?
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of, I'm curious to see, I'm curious to see how this offseason plays out in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's honestly from a perspective of, obvious. We're going to see it from a Padres perspective, but I think Major League Baseball's offseason is going to be very interesting on what kind of deals are getting made and when are these deals getting made and how long these contracts are and how much money some of these players are getting, because I think everybody involved with baseball understands the elephant in the room. They see the elephant in the room of the impending lockout and the subject of salary cap and the subject of salary floor and the subject of TV contracts. All of that is a major factor for the lifeblood of this sport. And the players know, and the ownership groups know, and they know they're in for a fight when it comes to the next labor negotiations. And I think a lot of that is going to impact how this offseason plays out in terms of when guys sign and how much they sign for and what teams are willing to give money out and what teams are not. And it's going to be one of the hardest off seasons to really predict when talking about a lot of stars that are available on the market this year.
And not to mention, it's also not a normal offseason because you have the World Baseball Classic this
Also,
offseason as
yes.
well. So that throws another wrinkle into the offseason. Spring training starts earlier because of that. Then you have your half of your team leaving, depending upon what team you are, having half of your team leaving to go play in the World Baseball Classic. So it's going to be, like I said before, this is going to be an offseason unlike any other that we have seen in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah. And we're trying to just find rumors right now, and there's not even a lot of rumors going on. The biggest rumors that we've seen is, maybe you see Kyle Schwarber sign early, and that's just kind of a guess from John Palmarosi, because you know what type of player he is. What the value he brings. He's there to not hit for a high average and hit the ball over the fence, and that's basically it. And then that was one of the rumors. You have a couple of players from Japan that have posted or are going to post. That's kind of a rumor that's out there. And then the last one was the big teams that spend the most money are interested in Kyle Tucker. And you're like, all right, well, that's not really breaking news that the Dodgers, Blue Jays, and Yankees are interested in Kyle Tucker. I'm surprised the Mets aren't part of there. You had the Mets there, and then you have
they were.
four of the, I think they might have been. The only thing that was surprising with that potential rumor was the fact that Baltimore might be interested, but I think that's BS because they don't spend any money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically it. That's all we have on free agency since we logged off on Friday. And logging off on Friday, our closing bell on Friday was the beginning bell of free agency in Major League Baseball, and that is all we heard. We had a minor league signing for the Mets, apparently. That's basically all we've gotten at this point in time. And as you mentioned before, it's an interesting offseason. How is Craig Stammen now? I totally forgot about that. Craig Stammen's going to do with the World Baseball Classic.
Mm-hmm.
What Padres are playing in that? What Padres have announced that they're playing in that? How are they going to go about that with, free agency, and how's that going to impact, the WBC? Are you going to see a situation where you got guys that are free agents that are playing in the WBC? I doubt it.
how much is he going to have to hold Joe Musgrove back from wanting to pitch in the World Baseball Classic
right?
if he's healthy?
They're going to ask him to do that. I mean, I'm curious to see what the World Baseball Classic rosters might be, but
it's like, brother, can we see you? Can we see you first? It's like, can we do that first?
That's right. That'll do it for our show today. Really appreciate all of you guys joining us. More coverage of Craig Stammen being announced as the Padres manager coming up with Gwynn and Chris as they come up next. We will all be off tomorrow. We'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday. A lot of football talk on Wednesday. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station, 97 to the Fan.